And we are live for week one. How we doing, everybody? It is the best day of the week. Sunday morning, week one. So many good games about to be on our TV screens. I can't wait to get going, guys. We're going to be live for quite some time. At least the next 3 hours, probably the next 3.5 hours. We're going to get to every single game. We're going to talk about every single player leading into week one. I have a bunch of different storylines that I'm watching really closely this week. I'll talk about all of those. We got the DraftKings lineup. We got some free player props. We did go 2 for 2 on Thursday night, so you absolutely love to see that. I got top 30 to 40 rankings for every single position. I'll pull up the QB rankings up here first on the YouTube live. If you're watching live on YouTube, guys, smash the like button. Hit the like button. Let's get 19 likes at the start of this first Sunday morning live stream of the year. Guys, this is 4 straight years of live streaming every single Sunday morning from basically the time I wake up to the time football kicks off. Let's go. We are so back. Good to see you, Kylo, Brendan, Connie in the comments before we even go live. It's going to be a fantastic morning. I can't wait till we get to the point of the live stream where people are saying good morning and it is no longer the morning. We are deep into the afternoon. Honestly, doesn't even feel too much like the morning to me. I've been up for 4 hours now, but let's go. It does feel like Christmas morning. Weatherman Sam is coming back. We do have some weather to discuss today, and there was low-key Weatherman Sam should have been back on Thursday night. A little bit overlooked because I was so excited for that Thursday night game. Didn't even look at the weather heading into that game. Probably should have. Ended up not impacting the game, of course, though. Like most weather things, end up not being as big of a deal as they get attention for. All right, we're going to get to so many start sits. We're going to get to every single game. I want to go game by game here to start out. So let me go into the game betting tool here in the Walter Picks app as we talk through each of these, starting with the 1:00 games here. So we got the Texans versus the Colts. This game could end up being extremely high scoring. I do think you want pieces of this Texans and Colts game. Well, let me turn off the subscriber only comment mode here on the TikTok live. Get back to that at the end of the live stream. We got Anthony Richardson. Anthony Richardson, if you're playing on DraftKings today, you got to strongly consider Anthony Richardson. He's probably going to be the most owned player on DraftKings today. He's priced way too low. I think they got him priced as around QB7. In terms of the quarterbacks left this week, he's QB2. It's Josh Allen, then it's Anthony Richardson, then it's Kyler Murray. I think they're in a tier of their own. I'll actually pull up, if you're watching live on TikTok, let me pull up the QB tiers here. I know I'm going to rub a lot of people the wrong way with Dak this week, but I do think Dak is a pretty good bench this week against the Browns. I actually like Deshaun on the other side of that game. That's definitely a risky call by me. I've been overweight on Deshaun all offseason, and one of the big storylines I'm very interested to see today is how Deshaun looks. But yeah, this Texans-Colts game, you want both quarterbacks. You definitely want pieces of this offense on both sides of the ball. And you got to start, I think, all 3 Texans receivers in most situations. Probably the game with the biggest question marks heading into week one. And I don't remember a time in week one where there was a team with this big of question marks, this close to week one kicking off. And that's the Cincinnati Bengals. Heading into week one, is Jamar Chase playing? It seems like Jamar Chase is playing to me, but that is definitely not 100% chance still the case. I feel like I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, every day that goes on without the contract, it becomes a little less likely Jamar Chase plays week one. Well, here we are. It's week one, no contract for Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is suddenly not playing in this game. They're probably still going to win easily against a bottom 3 Patriots team. But man, if Jamar Chase plays, I think you got to start him. Puts you in a really tough spot in fantasy. But if he plays, even though it sounds like if Jamar Chase plays, he's going to be not at his full workload. Let me pull up the wide receiver tiers here on the TikTok live. I got the wide receiver rankings up on the YouTube live. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. We are going to be live every single Sunday morning from basically the time I wake up till kickoff. So we got plenty of time to talk to every single player, every single game. I'm going to get to thousands of comments on this live stream. I want to go game by game, just give you my thoughts on each game before we really dive into it. But I got my rankings. These are PPR rankings up on the YouTube live, up on the TikTok live. Obviously, these align very closely with the Walter Picks app rankings, which I strongly encourage you to download. Link to that's in the YouTube description, in the TikTok bio. It is a free app that is going to help you crush fantasy. Dak or Purdy. Yeah, so those are actually my two bench quarterbacks this week. I don't think you can start Purdy against the Jets, though. I think you got to go Dak over Purdy. Pretty easily, it's got to be Dak over Purdy. But yeah, I think the Bengals, they have the biggest question mark heading into week 1. If Jamar Chase doesn't play, Andreas Iosivas is going to be their top receiver. I mean, he's clear-cut number 2 receiver. There's a bunch of stuff that came out over the last week saying Jermaine Burton might not even be active. They kind of need him to be active now. I guess he's been just not a very good professional, not showing up to meetings, not knowing the playbook. That's what it sounds like for Jermaine Burton, which is really tough because Jermaine Burton has an extremely high ceiling, and he's the guy that makes the most sense to step in for Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. It doesn't sound like that might be the case. Year 2 with annual fantasy subscription on Walter Picks. That's what I'm talking about, man. Love to see that. Appreciate you in the comments of the YouTube section. Appreciate you guys in the comments on TikTok too. I promise I'm literally going to get to thousands of comments on this live stream, just like I do every single Sunday morning. We're going to talk about every single player, every single game. I've got my rankings up on the YouTube live. I've got my tier list up on the TikTok live. Let me know what position you want next on the TikTok live. Let me know what position you want next too on the YouTube live. All right, we got a first start sit of the day here. DK, McConkey, Bowers, JMO, Williams for flex. Yes, yeah, so you can't really consider Jameson Williams. This just has to be DK Metcalf. This has got to be DK Metcalf. I don't think this one's very close. And I'm in on McConkey. I like Bowers, but if you can bench Bowers in week 1, I would definitely do that. I think Jameson Williams is a big boom bust candidate really every week, definitely here in week 1 until we see what that role ends up looking like. I do want pieces of that Rams-Lions game that's going to be tonight. Fantastic night game tonight. After a fantastic day of football all day on our TV screens, I think we get arguably the best game of the week, a rematch of the playoff game between the Rams and the Lions. That game was fantastic in the playoffs. Going to be fantastic tonight. We got the Jared Goff, Matthew Stafford duo revenge games in that one. I do think Jameson Williams is a good guy to have stashed on your bench, but yeah, I don't want to start him in week 1. I'm definitely starting DK Metcalf. Absolutely starting Metcalf in that one. All right, we got Evan Ingram or Bowers. All right, let me pull my tight end tiers here on the TikTok live. I'll put my tight end rankings on the YouTube live as well, because I think the tight end projections and start sits, it's about as straightforward as it gets possibly in fantasy football. Again, guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button. We're just getting started. We're going to talk about every player, every game. We've only got to 2 games because I'm getting excited about some of these start sits, but we're going to talk about every single game. We're going to talk about every single player. We're going to show tier rankings for every single position, rankings for every single position. Appreciate you guys in the comments and already watching. Hit the like button. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, hit the follow button, but also come to the YouTube live. The YouTube live is a better viewing experience because I can share my screen. I can pull up comments on the screen. I will answer comments from both, of course, but I do appreciate and suggest the YouTube live. Link is to that in the TikTok bio. All right. You got to start Evan Ingram today. You spelled Ingram wrong, but I'll give you a pass, Ryan, because I pronounce names wrong all the time. Spelling them, I think, even hard. But yeah, Evan Ingram is my tight end 4 today. I think there's a good argument even to start him over Kincaid. I wouldn't start him over Laporta or McBride. But Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts, Dalton Kincaid, Trey McBride, Sam Laporta, these are the tier 1 tight ends today. The tier 1 tight ends for sure. Sam Laporta, McBride, Kincaid, Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts. So Weatherman Sam's going to come out in a few minutes here, and it has to do with the Bills-Cardinals game, a game that I'm extremely excited for, a game that should be the highest scoring game, I think, of the day, because I don't think the Bills' defense has gotten that much better. And I think the Cardinals' defense might be the worst defense in the NFL. Meanwhile, the Cardinals' offense, I expect to be one of the most improved offenses in the NFL. So these Cardinals games could be astronomically high score. You're going to want pieces of the Cardinals games, both on the Cardinals and the team the Cardinals are playing against, I think, all season. But there is a tiny bit of concerning weather in that game, so we'll get to that. But definitely not enough to get me scared off of Trey McBride, Dalton Kincaid, Evan Ingram. Guys, Evan Ingram had the second most receptions in NFL history for a tight end last season. Wildly overlooked. Let me pull up the game logs here for Evan Ingram just to show this in the start sit tool of the Walter Picks app, which we got up on the YouTube live right now. Guys, if you're watching live on TikTok, smash the like button. Let me know what position you want to see next in terms of the tiers. And if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button as well. Let me know what position you want to see next in the rankings. Let me know what start sit decision you're battling between in the comments. I'm going to get to thousands of start sit decisions in this live stream. We're just getting started. All right, let me pull up the Evan Ingram game logs from last year. It really doesn't get quite as consistent as this. From a PPR standpoint, he had a couple games, 4 games under 10 points, was going over 10 every single other game. In the back part of the season, he was really up there in terms of the elite tight ends, had a 32-point game. He had 11 catches in one of these games, multiple games with 10-plus catches. He didn't have a single game with under 4 receptions. Evan Ingram had the second most receptions of all time among tight ends last year. I mean, really, really crazy stuff. That's why I got him ahead of Kyle Pitts. But, man, I'm excited to see Kyle Pitts here in week 1. I want to get to the storylines I'm excited for. I promise I'm going to get to all these start sits. But one of the storylines for sure that I'm following very, very closely in this Falcons-Steelers game. We got an Arthur Smith revenge game here in week 1. Number 4, I'm jumping to number 4. I got 7 different storylines, and I'll probably add some 6 different storylines I'm following extremely closely in week 1. One of them is Kirk Cousins' impact in Atlanta, because all offseason, me, a lot of other people, a lot of other fantasy analysts, I wasn't alone in this, probably you as well. If you have any of the Falcons players on your fantasy teams, we are expecting a massive impact from Kirk Cousins joining the Falcons. This is a team that hasn't had a good quarterback in years. Kyle Pitts has never played with an above-average quarterback. Drake London has never played with an above-average quarterback. Neither has Bijan, who's in year 2. How is that impact going to flow through to the rest of the core of that team? I think we're going to see it right in week 1 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's not a great matchup offensively for either of these teams. I can see either of these defenses outperforming expectations here in this game. Justin Fields is looking like he's going to be starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Absolute nightmare of a situation with the quarterbacks stuff for the Steelers. It doesn't look like Russell Wilson is going to play. This could be the end, honestly, guys, for Russ. This season, maybe even this week, could be just sort of the beginning of the end. It could be the beginning of the end for Russ. I'm not even sure we see Russ start this season if Justin Fields comes in and plays well. Why couldn't you write Ingram instead of Evan? Oh, sorry, I meant to do Ingram over Evan. My bad. There on the TikTok live. All right, let's show the running back tiers here next. I'll put the running back rankings here on the YouTube live as well, guys. We're live on TikTok and YouTube, and they're both good viewing experiences. The YouTube live is slightly better viewing experience than the TikTok live because I can share my computer screen. You're gonna get all the same rankings, but also I can share my computer screen to whatever we're talking about in the given moment. Like we were just looking at Evan Ingram's game logs, for example. So come to the YouTube live if you're watching live on TikTok. Looks like I missed Bijan somehow in this list. But yeah, he's definitely tier 1. That's my bad. Is he in this list? No, I missed Bijan in both these. That's just a miss. Obviously, you're starting Bijan though, so that's not too bad of one to miss. I don't have anyone in these rankings, guys, that already played. This live stream's all about today and tomorrow's decisions. So you're not going to see Saquon. You're not going to see Pacheco. You're not going to see Josh Jacobs. You're not going to see any of these guys that already played in these rankings. By the way, though, we did cash both of the free prop picks on Thursday night pretty easily, might I add. We cashed on Isaiah Likely over 16.5 receiving yards was the line they set. That was an absolute smash. He went over 100 yards. Should have won the game on that last play. Almost did. And we also cashed on Nelson Aguilar under 1.5 receptions. He did get one garbage time reception. It actually came kind of close at the end there. But he was running wind sprints just like we expected. So we're 2-0 on the free props. I got 3 free props for us today on the live. I'm going to get to those in just a second. Mixon or Debo? Yeah, so I mean that's a floor ceiling decision there. A lot of these wide receiver, running back decisions, we are so back, Luke. We couldn't be more back. This is my favorite day of the week. It is my favorite day of the year. I mean, it really doesn't get better than this. We got 10 games coming up on our TV screen in just a few hours. We got a fantastic night game. We get to see Aaron Rodgers on Monday night. I mean, I don't know why the NFL has done that to Aaron Rodgers in back-to-back seasons. It's brutal. Like, just give Rodgers and the Jets a 1:00 game. Give this fan base, a chance to ease into the season a little bit. But no, we got Rodgers versus a brutal 49ers defense tomorrow night. But yeah, man, fantastic day. And we couldn't be more back. We couldn't be more back. I am definitely leaning Mixon over Debo just based on the matchup against the Jets. But a lot of these receiver running back to start sit decisions, it's a floor ceiling decision. Let's do this comparison quick on the YouTube live. See if Walter agrees with me on Mixon over Debo. I definitely Walter does agree with me. Again, if you're watching live on TikTok, guys, come to the YouTube live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. It's a little bit better of a viewing experience. But I got Joe Mixon right at the top of tier 3. I think there's an argument to put him in tier 2. Joe Mixon might not be the most explosive, exciting running back in the NFL, but he finds himself in a fantastic spot with almost no competition. Dameon Pierce might not really play much today. It's possible Cam Akers is playing ahead of Dameon Pierce, who really struggled throughout the preseason. It seems like they want Dameon Pierce to be running back too, but he just hasn't earned it. Joe Mixon is playing in a team that could easily lead the league in points this week. And against a Colts team, the Colts offense might play at the fastest pace in the entire NFL. They were near the top in the NFL in pace last season. They could play extremely fast. That can lead to some really, really high scoring games. That's definitely good news for Joe Mixon. Mixon could easily score 2 touchdowns today. Would not be surprised. There was even a quote from their offensive coordinator just this past week about the importance of running the ball in the red zone. I mean, Joe Mixon could lead the NFL in red zone touches. Like, wouldn't be that crazy. It wouldn't be that crazy. So yeah, he might just average a non-exciting 3.8 to 4.2 yards per carry. But if he scores 15 touchdowns, you're not going to mind that much in fantasy. So yeah, he's a high floor play for sure. We're giving him in the Walter Picks app just a 20% chance to go under 10 points. That's extremely strong, extremely strong. Debo, on the other hand, he's got a 38% chance to go under 10 points in a tough matchup, but a higher ceiling. Debo does have a higher ceiling. Debo has one of the highest ceilings every single week in fantasy football. So if you're down big already, you played against Jaden Reed, then maybe you do go Debo. But yeah, generally I'm going Mixon over Debo Samuel personally. I think that makes a lot of sense. McLaurin or Dell? Let me pull up the wide receiver tiers here. We got a lot of wide receiver decisions here. I'll pull up the wide receiver rankings on the YouTube live as well. Let me know in the comments again what start sit decisions you're thinking through, and I'm going to talk through them. I'm going to talk through thousands of start sits. We're just getting started. We are just getting started in this live, guys. If you're watching live on TikTok, make sure you smash the follow button. And if you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button. I promise it helps me so much more than you realize. The other thing you can do to help me way more than you could possibly realize is to download the Walter Picks app and try it out. I promise it's going to help with fantasy. I promise it's going to help with props. And if you could toss us a 5-star review in the App Store, that takes you like 3 seconds. Doesn't cost you anything. It's so helpful to me and for everything that I'm trying to do. So I do appreciate that as well. Let me know in the comments if you do that, and I'll try to prioritize your comment as well. All right, so I see a question here about Jamar Chase thoughts. So yeah, let's get to it. Probably, definitely one of the main storylines I'm watching heading into week 3 is just, WTF is going on with the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't think I can remember a week 1 with so much uncertainty for a team this close to kickoff. Is Jamar Chase playing? Is he not playing? I think he's playing. I think that I would probably put it at 80-20 that he's playing. But a 20% chance that he's not playing is actually still pretty big. It's still a pretty big question mark. T. Higgins is not playing. He's doubtful. He's basically confirmed out. So T. Higgins isn't playing. They said Jermaine Burton might be a healthy scratch. Like within the last week, something came out saying Jermaine Burton might be a healthy scratch because the team's not happy with how he's acted from a professional standpoint. He doesn't know the plays. He's showing up late to meetings. He's sleeping through meetings. This is the stuff coming out about Jermaine Burton, their rookie receiver, who's incredibly talented, but seems like he just might not be able to make it in the NFL from a professional standpoint. So we got Andre Yoshivas. Let me pull up the team depth chart here for the Bengals and what they're looking at here, because Yoshivas is actually like definitely in play. He's definitely in play in a lot of leagues, especially deeper leagues. I think he's got a pretty solid floor. We go to the depth chart here. Jamar Chase is questionable. I'd say 80-20. I think 80% chance Jamar Chase plays. It does not sound like Jamar Chase is going to see his normal workload, though, if he plays. But I think you still have to start him in fantasy. I got him down in tier 3 this week. Obviously, he's a tier 1 guy at his full workload. I still think he's a must-start guy in fantasy, though, this week, even at the reduced workload. I mean, there's a reason he's a round 1 pick in fantasy football. I think if he starts, you picked him in round 1, or if he fell all the way to round 2 in some drafts, which I did see happen, you got to start. You have to start if he plays. But again, there's still a chance he doesn't play. We're probably not going to know for sure until 90 minutes before kickoff. We've got a couple more hours till we know for sure. You look at this depth chart, man. So we're going to see a lot of Trenton Irwin today, whether or not Jamar Chase plays. And if Jamar Chase doesn't play, they have to make Jermaine Burton active. They have to. They're going to play Charlie Jones. Has anyone heard of Charlie Jones before? Because I haven't. And I'm looking at these guys nonstop. He had a 3.3% target share last season. I guess this isn't his first year. Wow, 3 yards per route run. He probably ran a total of like 5 routes, though. So I don't think that really counts. But, I mean, if Charlie Jones is active over Jermaine Burton, I mean, that's rough, man. That's a rough sign for Jermaine Burton, who I've taken a bunch in my best ball leagues this offseason, who I think has an incredibly high ceiling. It makes so much sense for them to force him out there if Chase is out. But I don't think Chase is going to be out. I think we're going to see a 3-man rotation of Chase, Irwin, Yoshivas, and then either Charlie Jones or Jermaine Burton. But the real winners here, I think, given all this situation, also given the matchup, guys, the Bengals are the biggest favorites of the week. So what, WTF is going on with the Cincinnati Bengals? T. Higgins says he's the best he's ever felt heading into week 1 on Thursday. And then Friday, he's out for the week with a hamstring injury. Very odd situation there. Almost feels like, and I don't want to speculate too much here, but it almost feels like T. Higgins is just sitting out in solidarity with Ja'Marr Chase as he holds out for a contract extension. Seems like Chase is likely to play, but the real winners here, it's Zach Moss and it's Chase Brown. It's Zach Moss and Chase Brown. They're playing the Patriots. They're 7.5-point favorites in this game against the Patriots, despite all this uncertainty, despite maybe not having their top 2 receivers. Doesn't matter. They're playing a bottom 3 team in the NFL, a team that's not going to be able to score points against NFL defenses, led by Jacoby Brissett and a bunch of rookie receivers and a bottom 3 offensive line. So, yeah, Zach Moss, Chase Brown are, I think, the guys you want in fantasy. If Ja'Marr Chase plays, though, you got to start Ja'Marr Chase. I mean, there's just no way around it. Got to start Ja'Marr Chase. All right, let me get to the QB tiers here because I've got a good QB question here in the chat. Between Goff and Fields in a super flex slot. A lot of super flex leagues out there with some tough decisions this week. And Fields really is in play, I think, as a top 10 quarterback in fantasy. We got him ranked to QB 15. Guys, last season, Justin Fields, if I pull this up really quick, pull his game log up, he averaged 18.4 fantasy points per game. And it was all because of the rushing. Guys, Justin Fields had the second most rushing yards per game among quarterbacks last season, 50.5 rushing yards per game. I think he was only behind Lamar Jackson. Probably going to see a lot of rushing from Fields in this one too, who's getting thrusted into the starting role. Almost definitely. Sounds like almost definitely Russ is not going to play in this game. But yeah, I'd still go Goff. Goff is in a really, really good spot here against the Rams. The Rams defense was absolutely terrible last season. They ranked 3rd worst against quarterbacks, allowing 18.9 points per game. I do think the Falcons defense is much more likely to play well than the Rams defense. And I think going to be a really high scoring game, really fun game tonight between the Rams and the Lions. I'm not benching Goff. I got Goff right in tier 2. I got him right between Stroud and Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson is one of the storylines I'm extremely excited to watch and something I'm going to be watching incredibly closely. I'll get to my DraftKings lineup here in a second. But the number one storyline for me, because Deshaun Watson has been my most drafted player. I did over 500 best ball drafts. Guys, again, second straight year. I can't control myself during draft season. We did 500 best ball drafts. And Deshaun Watson was by far my most drafted quarterback because he's going in round 16, round 15. And I really do believe he has top 10 quarterback upside because we've seen it before. It was back in 2020, 2019. It was a long time ago. There's a reason he got paid what he got paid. He's obviously not done it in quite some time. He's looked awful. He's been injured. How does Deshaun Watson look in week 1 against the Dallas Cowboys? I'm going to be watching that extremely closely. I do think there's a really wide range of outcomes here, but I think people are kind of sleeping on the ceiling case for Deshaun. But if you want to play it a little safer, Stroud, Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Jaden Daniels, even Stafford and Fields over him, I think that's fine. I personally would go Deshaun over Jaden Daniels. I'd go Deshaun over Justin Fields, over Tua, over Caleb Williams. I definitely like Jaden Daniels more than Caleb Williams in his week 1 matchup, but I think both have a pretty exciting ceiling. Excited to see how both those rookie quarterbacks do. That's another storyline that I'm following very closely is, are Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams already must-start players in fantasy football? It's very possible that's already the case. These are not typical rookie quarterbacks that we're talking about here. Caleb Williams, one of the best quarterback prospects in recent memory, in I think the best possible situation I've ever seen for a rookie quarterback. He has arguably the best 3 receivers in the NFL. I think he's probably number 2 behind the Texans. I think you got to start all 3 of those receivers today, by the way. But I think people don't quite realize just how good Rome Odunze is. And when you realize how good Rome Odunze is, actually the Texans-Bears comparison might actually be a little closer than you realize. But both these guys might be already must-starts in fantasy, and we're going to, I think, know pretty quickly here in week 1. Pretty good spot for Jaden Daniels against the Buccaneers defense that was very pass-funnel defense last year, really good against the run, really bad against the pass. The Titans secondaries in defense, similar thing last year. They definitely improved the defense this offseason. But Caleb Williams could smash right here in week 1. Yo, I'm hyped for fantasy to be back. Me too, Max. We are so back, Max. We got 10 football teams. We got 10 football games. We got like 24 or 26 football teams on our TV screens in literally just a few hours, man. I can't wait. I can't wait for the games, but I'm also pumped for this live. Make sure you hit the like button if you're just tuning in on the YouTube live. If you're just tuning in on the TikTok live, guys, hit the follow button. Thank you for the follow. Just saw that on the TikTok live. We're also live on YouTube. YouTube is a better viewing experience because I can share my screen. Like we're looking at a Jared Goff Justin Fields comparison right now. Bunch of stats that I got up on the screen on the YouTube Live. Plus, I can pull up comments, but I'll get to comments on both. We're going to get to thousands of start sits here. Like Chuba Hubbard versus Jordan Addison. Just saw that one on the TikTok Live. Yeah, definitely would go Chuba Hubbard there. All right. London, Olave, or Neighbors. Let's do this. Let's do this comparison. This is definitely a good one. I think I got my wide receiver rankings up too right now on the YouTube Live. I'll switch that in a second. I'll switch to the QB. Let me go back to the receivers here on the TikTok Live too. London, Neighbors. Let me know in the TikTok Live what position you want to see next as well. All right, we got Olave. Yeah, all three good starts here. You're gonna have to bench Olave here, though. That's what my gut was saying, and I'm happy to see Walter agrees with me on this one. You definitely can't bench Drake London. Absolutely not. And you can't bench Malik Neighbors. Like I almost like Malik Neighbors more than London. I got them back to back here. I actually put Neighbors above of London in the TikTok Live. I think I got London one spot ahead of Neighbors in the YouTube Live. But yeah, they're both locked in must starts. I mean, must starts. If you want to see the defenses, I'll pull up the defense rankings here. I know people struggle with the defenses. I only have those on the YouTube Live, though. So come to the YouTube Live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. If you're watching live on TikTok, I'll pull up the defense rankings quick. I do like the Vikings against the Giants. I do like the Seahawks against the Broncos. I have the Seahawks defense in basically all my fantasy leagues because they get Bo Nix in week 1, who I actually like Bo Nix, but still not the most exciting offense. Rookie quarterback in his first game. And then next week, the Seahawks get the Pats. So they get Bo Nix, Jacoby Brissett. I don't think there's a better defense to pick in fantasy just for that reason. I think people overrate how well we can predict which defenses are actually going to be really good year to year. I almost always go based on matchup for defense. So I got this rankings up on the YouTube Live right now. But yeah, I'm not benching Drake London today. I am not benching Malik Neighbors today. Guys, the whole case for Malik Neighbors all offseason is, let me pull this up, Matt, because I got you with the player props here coming up in a second. We did cash both props on the live stream Thursday night pretty quickly, might I add, with the Isaiah Likely prop, who, he was the player really of that game. But the whole case from Malik Neighbors all offseason, guys, there's not a team. I think the only other team you could maybe point to is the Dallas Cowboys in terms of the gap between the best player on the offense and then the next best player on the offense. I don't know if there's a bigger gap than any team other than the Giants and Malik Neighbors. It goes from Malik Neighbors to Wan'Dale Robinson to Darius Slayton, Jalen Hyatt, Devin Singletary. I mean, the gap is ginormous. This is why Malik Neighbors is going to be locked into such a large workload that it's going to offset the horrible offense that he's in. I get that people are scared about Daniel Jones. That's part of the reason I like the Vikings defense today. But Malik Neighbors is going to be a locked-in must-start. I actually have him ranked ahead of Marvin Harrison here in week 1. Marvin Harrison Jr. has a lot more competition for targets, a lot more competition for touches. Malik Neighbors is probably going to get 10-plus touches a game, which is incredibly elite. And almost no players in the NFL will do that. So, yeah, you got to start Malik Neighbors, especially against this Vikings team. This is such a good week 1 spot for Malik Neighbors. This Vikings secondary was atrocious last season, and they did not do that much to improve the defense this offseason. All right, we do got a couple player props for. I actually got 3. So we went 2 for 2 on Thursday night. We cashed with Isaiah Likely. They set that line at 16.5. I was talking Thursday night. Very clearly, he was the 3rd best receiver on the team. I think he might even be the 2nd best receiver on the team. He's probably still 3rd in my mind, though. I'm not fully panicked on Andrews, though I do think you got to temper expectation a little bit for Andrews. After that Thursday game, definitely wasn't a great first outing for him. He's coming off the same injury, by the way, that Tony Pollard had before last season. There's some reason to expect he just won't be, quite the same athlete as he was this year for Mark Andrews. Tony Pollard now 2 years removed from that. I do think he's all the way back. So some optimism for a 2-year outlook for Andrews. But this year, he really might underperform expectations. Seems like it based on the first game. But again, we don't want to overreact to one game. But anyways, Isaiah Likely smashed. And so did the Nelson Aguilar under, where he was just running wind sprints. I think he did get 1 catch. But really, he had 1 target. He didn't even have 2 targets. All right, so we got 3 more props for you today. I'll talk through these. So we're 2-0 this season. We're over 58%, 4 straight years. So number 1, I'm taking Tyler Boyd over 24.5 receiving yards. I like this one a lot. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be playing today. I think he's a must bench in fantasy, though. I think he's a must bench in fantasy. I got Hopkins as a must bench because he's dealing with a real injury. I think he said a partially torn MCL that he's playing through. So DeAndre Hopkins is going to be playing. He's going to be playing. But I think Boyd's going to see close to 100% snap share today. Boyd is going to be the slot receiver for this team. And again, I think the Titans, I've been saying this all offseason, I don't think there's going to be a bigger offensive philosophy shift on any team that I just thought Jefferson or Neighbors. Come on, man. We're not benching Justin Jefferson in week 1 as much as I like Malik Neighbors. I don't think there's going to be a bigger offensive philosophy shift than from any team other than the Titans this season. They're going from the Derrick Henry run first era to the pass heavy Will Levis, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears era. They signed Tyler Boyd this offseason. Sounds like he's locked into the starting receiver in the slot. I like his receptions, bro, but I actually like the yards even more. Against the Bears today, he could hit this in the first drive. This is going to be within reach all game long, very similar to the Isaiah Likely prop we cashed on Thursday night. So Tyler Boyd over 24.5. He's done this many, many times. Obviously, different offense. But I wouldn't be shocked if Tyler Boyd is near the top of the team in targets. Like, it's probably going to be Ridley, but Boyd might be number 2 in targets on this offense today. So I like Tyler Boyd over 24.5 receiving yards. I also really like the James Cook prop. We're going to get to Weatherman Sam here in a second, but I actually think the weather here bodes kind of well for James Cook. I think the matchup bodes extremely well for James Cook against the Arizona Cardinals. I think the Arizona Cardinals might have the worst defense in the entire NFL. They did very little to improve this defense this offseason. They were atrocious last season. James Cook hit this in 7 of his last 10 games, most of which he went over 100 total yards. There's no Steph Diggs. There's no Gabe Davis. I think a sneaky winner of this offensive shift this offseason in terms of the personnel, this whole offseason has been James Cook. One of the best receiving backs in the NFL. Guys, James Cook, let me pull up his yards per reception here. Yards per reception, yards per target. He was running back 5 in terms of yards per reception last season, 9.1 yards per reception, the 5th most efficient receiving back in the NFL last season. So he can get it done through the air. If the Cardinals offense has a good game and the Bills fall behind, James Cook could get 50-plus receiving yards in this game. If the Bills get ahead and the Cardinals defense is absolutely atrocious stopping the run, you get 100-plus rushing yards in this game. There's multiple ways for him to beat this prop line. I like this one a lot. I think his floor is right around the 60s or 70s in terms of total yards. I'm not that concerned about Ray Davis. I think worst case for James Cook from a fantasy perspective is Ray Davis maybe gets in the red zone and gets some of that goal line work, some of the early down work. But ultimately, James Cook's going to easily lead this team in rushing attempts and targets, I think, out of the backfield. So I'd like James Cook over 84.5 rushing receiving yards. And then last but definitely not least, we got Deontay Johnson over 4.5 receptions. I like this one a lot too. Think back to the beginning of last season, and it was Adam Thielen. Week after week after week after week, Adam Thielen was getting 5-plus receptions. That role is now Deontay Johnson, and Deontay Johnson is better than Adam Thielen. One of the storylines I'm watching really closely today as well is Bryce Young going to be the same Bryce Young as last season, where he's really the worst quarterback in the NFL? He was the worst quarterback in the NFL last season. There was a lot you could chalk that up to, though. He had a horrible offensive line, absolutely no receiver talent, a bad coaching staff. All of that has changed, at least to some extent this offseason. Still not the best receiving talent, but a much improved offensive line. Dave Canales is in town. He's turned around multiple quarterback careers in Geno Smith and in Baker Mayfield. And then they also had Deontay Johnson. Plus, they drafted Xavier Legette. Interested to see his role in week 1 as well. But yeah, I'm taking Deontay over 4.5 receptions. Guys, Adam Thielen had the 9th most receptions in the NFL last season. The 9th most receptions in the NFL. Deontay could be top 10 receptions this season. I think this line should honestly be closer to 5.5, 6.5, and they're setting it at 4.5. He hasn't done this in his last 10 games with totally different offense, totally different situation. He's the number 1 target for the Panthers right now. So yeah, these are the 3 props that I like today. Tyler Boyd over 24.5 receiving yards, James Cook over 84.5 rush and receiving yards, total yards there, and then Deontay over 4.5 receptions. Those are the free props. Kylo, happy Sunday. Today's going to be a great day, especially since my birthday is also today. Kylo, man, happy birthday to you. It is like Christmas morning and birthday morning for you. That's hype. Start 2, though. Spears, Addison, Hubbard, Mooney, Boyd. Would also love to hear the props. Yeah, we got you with the props, Kylo, so I got you there. Just talk through those. Spears, Addison, Hubbard, Mooney, and Boyd. Yeah, so I think you go Spears and Hubbard here. I think you bench Addison, you bench Mooney, you bench Boyd. I like the Boyd prop. Take the Boyd prop, and the prop line's low, which is part of the reason to bench him, right? He could get 30 yards, cash the prop, not be a good fantasy start. Spears and Hubbard, I think, are both pretty good plays today. Let me pull up the running back rankings here again on the YouTube live. Let me pull up the running back tiers here again on the TikTok live. I got both Pollard and Spears pretty high up this week in tier 5. I got Pollard, Montgomery, Spears, Singletary in that tier. I think I like Pollard just a little bit more than Spears, but both guys I think have a pretty good floor and ceiling case. They're both going to get a decent amount of volume in the passing game. I think Pollard probably outproduces Spears in the running game, but both are I think, in pretty good spots with just the roles that they're in. They're both going to split that backfield pretty evenly. Both have a pretty high ceiling. So yeah, I think I would go with Spears and with Chuba Hubbard. No Jonathan Brooks for the first month of the season. Chuba Hubbard could be seeing 20 plus touches a game. Hey Sam, excited for another year. Me too, Adam. It is the best day of the week. It is one of the best days of the year. We are so back. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, smash the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button. If you're watching live on TikTok too and you want a little bit better of a viewing experience, come to the YouTube Live. Link is right in the TikTok bio. I can share my screen on the YouTube Live. I can pull comments up on screen on the YouTube Live. And we'll get to thousands of comments across TikTok and YouTube on these lives. I've seen a question in the TikTok Live. Why am I benching Dak today? Yeah, I think that Dak has been one of the guys I've been avoiding all offseason just because of the natural regression that's going to come for Dak. He led the NFL in touchdown rate last season. Same thing with Brock Purdy. Both these guys are going to regress in the touchdown efficiency column almost definitely because that's just how regression works. It's almost impossible to Bijan die. Yeah, I accidentally left Bijan out of the running back ranks. Don't know how I did that, but obviously he's a must start. So that was just a mistake on my end. But yeah, the easy one to slot in, obviously right there in tier 1. I put him probably right next to Brees before JT here in these running back rankings. All right, Pollard or Keenan Allen in a half PPR league. This one's definitely close here. Let's pull this up. And Keenan, I think, was questionable heading into this game, but he's going to play. Yeah, it's Keenan. It's Keenan over Pollard. Pollard has the safer floor, it looks like. Yeah, slightly safer floor for Pollard, but the ceiling is just so much higher for Keenan Allen against a Titan secondary that wasn't very good last season too. So yeah, I think I'd probably lean Keenan there. Flex spot half PPR. Aaron Jones, Christian Kirk, or Tank Dell. Thank you, bro. Yeah, so this one's between Kirk and Tank. I don't think I'd go Aaron Jones here. I think it's between Christian Kirk and Tank, even in a half PPR league. Half PPR leagues, I generally do like to lean towards running backs, but of course it depends on which running backs, which receivers we're talking about. And here we got Kirk and Tank, who I do think are, I was just looking at a PPR projection there, which has definitely helped. That definitely helped the Keenan. I still think I'd go Keenan though over Pollard and half PPR. Half PPR, I actually might bode well here for Tank as well, who probably has a better yard and touchdown projection. Super close one here between Kirk and Tank. I like the game environment for both of these teams. Christian Kirk has been dealing with some injuries. I can't stand having Tank Dell on my bench. There's a couple leagues that I've been forced. I had to play Rashee Rice over Tank. That was a good call, I think. I don't feel good leaving a guy on my bench that has a 15% chance to go over 25 points. Kirk is definitely the safer play, though. Again, this comes back to your risk profile. Do you want to go for the ceiling or do you want to play it safe and go for the floor? I definitely think Kirk's a little bit safer than Tank. One of these Texans receivers is almost bound to disappoint every week, but also two of them are probably going to absolutely smash every single week. This is going to be the roller coaster of the Texans receivers this season with Steph Diggs in town. Steph Diggs has always seen an elite target share. Basically, everywhere he's ever been, he's commanded an elite target share. I don't think that's going to change even alongside Nico and Tank. And I do think Nico is still the number one. I really like Tank too. I think all three of these guys are going to have some massive weeks, and they're all going to have some disappointing weeks too, because you just cannot get all three of these guys over 25% target shares in a given week. I just don't think that's very realistic, very uncommon. So yeah, I still think I'm personally playing Tank over Kirk. All that being said, I think I would go Tank Dell over Kirk because I think the ceiling is just much higher for Tank, but the floor is absolutely higher for Kirk if you want to play it safe. Yeah, hit the like button, guys. We got 130 people in this YouTube live, only 24 likes. Takes you 2 seconds to smash the like button. I promise you, it helps me out like way more than you could possibly realize. So everyone, take 2 seconds, smash the like button on the YouTube live. If you're watching live on TikTok, smash the like button there too. Let me know what position tiers you want to see next. I accidentally left Bijan off the running back ranks today. That was a mistake. I'm starting Bijan in 4 of my 7 high stakes fantasy leagues. He is right up there with CMC Brees. I had it all offseason that CMC, Bijan, then Brees. I think there's a good argument to say CMC, Brees, then Bijan, but we're splitting hairs here, man. I'm definitely playing him over JT. I think he is locked in for a huge season. All right, let me get to some of these storylines here that I'm very, very intrigued about. I got my wide receiver rankings up now on the TikTok and YouTube live. Let me know if you have any questions on those. Saquon, yeah, so none of the players that already played are in these lists, guys. None of the players that already played I'm going to be talking about today, because today is about today and tomorrow's night game if you got Jets, 49ers decisions. But I'm locked in on helping you guys make the best possible decisions and give you the best possible analysis for all the games that haven't happened yet. I'm actually going to be posting a YouTube video every single Monday. It might come out Tuesday, but I'll be recording it tomorrow. reacting to everything that happened in the games that have been played in week one and what it means looking forward. So if you want that type of analysis, make sure you follow on the TikTok. Make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel too. We're going to be doing that every single week after the games have all been played. But right now I'm just locked in on the upcoming games today because it's the best day of the week, guys. It's the best day of the week. Football Sundays are finally back. All right, let me talk through some of the storylines I'm most intriguingly watching in week one. Number one, how does Deshaun Watson look? Because if we pull up the game logs for Deshaun Watson in all offseason, if you were able to squint hard enough, you could just squint a little bit hard enough, and you go back to the year 2020, and you look at what Deshaun was back then, 30 points in a lot of these games. He wasn't going under 15 points in any fantasy games. He averaged over 23 fantasy points per game, which would have been a top 5 quarterback last season. If you just squinted hard enough, you could see the ceiling for Deshaun. What does he look like in week one against a pretty scary Dallas Cowboys defense? I think sneakily, too, the Browns could be one of the most pass-heavy offenses in the NFL. There's no Nick Chubb. They were top in the league in pass attempts last year with Joe Flacco after Nick Chubb got injured. And then you also just look back to last season, and as bad as Deshaun was from a real NFL perspective, he played in 5 games, guys. He went over 17 fantasy points in 4 of those games. He went over 17 fantasy points in 4 of his 5 games last season. That's not that bad. That's actually pretty consistent. And it's because of the rushing that he has. The rushing profile that he has, I think, has been a little slept on this offseason. How does Deshaun look? That's definitely a storyline I'm watching super closely. Similar storyline. Is Bryce Young going to take the year 2 leap? Because Bryce Young had one of the worst quarterback seasons of all time last season. It was one of the worst quarterback seasons of all time. He needs to make a significant leap to be at all relevant. Look at this game log from last season. He had 2 games for Bryce Young over 15 fantasy points last season. That was it. He played every single game. I mean, absolutely atrocious season for Bryce. It wasn't all his fault, is the narrative. He had a bad offensive line. That was improved this offseason. He had bad receivers. That was improved this offseason too. And he also had bad coaching. That was also improved this offseason. Is Bryce Young going to take this year 2 leap right out of the gates? He gets a matchup against the Saints today. Not the worst spot for him. Very intrigued to see how he looks. Another storyline I'm following very closely in week one. WTF is going on with the Cincinnati Bengals. They're the biggest favorites in week one. Meanwhile, T. Higgins is out after saying he was the best he's ever felt just a few days ago. And Jamar Chase is questionable because he's still holding out for a contract. How have the Bengals not gotten the contract in place for Jamar Chase? It's seeming every day that passes without the contract for Chase. And I was feeling this way about the Cowboys. They got that contract in last minute, but it's seeming more and more like this is just an ineptly run NFL organization. It is a lose-lose situation to not have this contract in place for Jamar Chase. On one end, Jamar Chase might not play, and that's not going to help the Bengals win games, even though this is pretty much a layup game for the Bengals. And on the other end, it's bad for Jamar Chase too, who could be getting fined, and he's missing out on obviously tons of money by not having his contract in place and by potentially missing games. I do think Jamar Chase is going to play. I think you need to start him in fantasy if he plays, even though he's not going to be at his full workload. But man, what's going on with the Cincinnati Bengals? Definitely going to be watching that closely. I think Andre Yoshabas is the biggest winner of all of this, but really the main winners are maybe actually Zach Moss and Chase Brown, especially in what should be a pretty good game script for them as 7.5-point favorites against the Patriots. Another quarterback storyline I'm following really closely is Kirk Cousins. What's his impact going to be for the Atlanta Falcons? Because all offseason, I've been very, very bullish on this impact. I've been very in on Bijan. I took Bijan 3rd overall, 4th overall, 5th overall in many of my drafts. I have him in 4 of my 7 high-stakes fantasy leagues. I also like Drake London, and I'm also very in on Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts, I actually think, might have been the sneakiest, best Falcons pick this draft season because the price for Bijan and the price for Drake London, those rose with the expectations of Kirk Cousins. Kyle Pitts' price did not rise with the expectations of Kirk Cousins. He was still going in around 6, 7, 8 in some drafts. Meanwhile, he's ranked top 2 among tight ends in air yards every single year of his career. I'm very intrigued to see the impact that Kirk Cousins has on this Atlanta Falcons team. We haven't seen Kirk or Aaron Rodgers play at all in the preseason. We really haven't heard or seen that much from these guys because they're coming off the Achilles injuries. They've played very safe, close to the vest. Very intrigued to see how that goes in week one. Another week one storyline I'm watching closely, also quarterback related. A lot of the systemic stuff that flows down to the rest of these offenses comes back to the quarterbacks at the end of the day. That's part of the reason I couldn't be more out on Zamir White. Part of the reason I'm scared about Devontae Adams, right? The quarterback situation there is abysmal. Part of the reason I'm scared about Ramondre Stevenson, too. Abysmal quarterback play usually means absolutely terrible fantasy production across the whole team. I'm willing to ignore that a little bit with Malik Neighbors specifically in his situation. But Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams, are they already must starts in fantasy? Very possible that's the case. I personally like Daniels more than Caleb in week 1. Let me pull up my QB tiers here on the TikTok live. Let me pull up the QB rankings on the YouTube live. You'll see I got Jaden Daniels ranked very highly heading into week 1. He's in my number 8 quarterbacks of the quarterbacks that haven't played yet. Again, I'm only ranking the guys that haven't played yet. We'll get to the guys that played in the reactions there tomorrow. We're going to do some content on that tomorrow. But right now, I'm locked in for week 1. I'll go to tight end next, seeing that comment in the TikTok live. I'll pull the tight end rankings here on the YouTube live too. Then we'll get to some more start sits. The final storyline I'm watching very, very closely, again, has to do with the quarterbacks. Is Sam Darnold a capable quarterback 1? Is this Vikings offense just so quarterback friendly that they can still produce and still compete in the NFL, still be a good team for fantasy players? I definitely think Justin Jefferson is quarterback proof. I'm not too scared about him, but what about Jordan Addison? What about Aaron Jones? What about Sam Darnold himself? There's definitely a possibility Sam Darnold is one of the waiver wire ads after week 1. He got a decent matchup here against the Giants in week 1. All right, let's get back to some of these start sits, and I'll pull up the tight end tiers. I saw someone ask about that. Stafford or Justin Fields, or stay with Burrow? Yeah, it's Stafford over Burrow. It's Stafford over Burrow, and I think I would still go Burrow over Fields, but I wouldn't knock you for going Fields over Burrow. Jerry, thanks for the gift, man. Appreciate that in the TikTok live. Guys, if you're watching live on YouTube, I don't know how we don't even have 100 likes on this live stream yet. Hit the like button. Helps me way more than you realize. Takes you 2 seconds. Smash the like button. I'm going to get to thousands of start sits here. Thank you for the birthday wishes. Quick thought, the neighbors over 5 receptions. Kind of like it after your neighbor segment. Yeah, I don't hate this at all, Kyle. And I also think neighbors will get some rushing attempts. Like, they're going to get the ball in neighbors' hands early and often. This is one thing that Brian Dable is really good at. This has been covered pretty extensively. Like, he calls plays for players, and he's going to call plays for by far the best player on his team offensively. Probably across the whole team, honestly, but definitely on the offensive side of the ball. All right, let's get to some more of these start sits. ETN, Ford, Eckler, or Stevenson, pick 2. Yes, there's definitely ETN. Let me go to the tight end ranks because I know someone asked for those. I'll pull those up here. But yeah, it's ETN like easily here. You're definitely not benching ETN. So this is really a start 1, and I think the answer here is probably Mostert or Ford over Eckler and over Stevenson. I'm very, very nervous about Stevenson just in general with this offense. Yeah, this answer here is Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford was one of the best sleeper picks, I think, in all fantasy heading into the season. I think I was shocked, especially some of my earlier drafts, how early Nick Chubb was getting picked. Guys, there's still a chance Nick Chubb does not play this season. I hope he plays. Seems like he's progressing towards playing. But like just putting that out there, the fact that that's a chance, we might not see Nick Chubb, anywhere near week 5. And even when Nick Chubb comes back, he's on IR right now, so he's out at least the first 4 weeks. But even when Nick Chubb comes back, he's going to be getting eased back in. They're not just going to throw him into his normal 50% of the backfield touches right away. Like, he's coming off an extremely severe injury and has the historical issues with that same knee. Jerome Ford's going to have a massive role all season, definitely in his first month of the season. Again, on a team that I think could be near the top of the league in pass attempts, and Jerome Ford's a pretty good receiving back. So yeah, I like Jerome Ford a lot. I think he's been slept on this whole offseason. I think he's a pretty high floor and high ceiling play. Mostert definitely a higher ceiling play. Mostert, who led the NFL in touchdowns last season, in a pretty good game environment here against the Jaguars, definitely higher ceiling play. But I think Ford's floor justifies starting him over Mostert. A lot of competition in the backfield for Mostert. Wide range of outcomes for Mostert every week. But wouldn't be shocking to see Jalen Wright or Achane in there in the red zone over Mostert. I'll put the tight end rankings here on the YouTube live as well. We're going to go rapid fire here. Rapid fire segment of the start sits. We are getting close to an hour in on this live. We are just getting started. Make sure you hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. I'm literally about to go rapid fire. We're about to get to 20 start sits in like less than 20 minutes here. All right, let's go rapid fire. We just said ETN and Ford on this one. DJ Moore or Calvin Ridley? I think this one's Ridley. I think it's a tough one to call because DJ Moore is a better receiver than Ridley. I think Ridley's in the better environment, though, here in week 1. These guys are actually playing against each other. This is half PPR. Let me know the scoring settings, by the way. The scoring settings matter. They absolutely matter. That's part of the reason the Walter Picks app is so overpowered. If you haven't downloaded the Walter Picks app yet, you're just trying. Are you trying to lose your fantasy league? Because it's a free app with tons of advanced insights. You don't even need to do the premium subscriptions to help use the app to win your league. I do encourage the premium subscriptions because they're way too cheap for how much they're going to help you in both fantasy and props. But make sure you download the app. And part of the reason the app is so powerful is it's custom to all your scoring settings. Link to that's in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. Anyways, I would go Ridley over DJ Moore. It's a tough call. I don't feel great making that call. DJ Moore's ceiling is a bit higher too. The floor for Ridley, I do think, is a bit higher, though, given the competition for targets that DJ Moore has with Roma Dunze, who is a very underrated rookie receiver. He was close to that Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison tier, and that Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison tier, guys, that's the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase tier of prospects. That's how good Roma Dunze might be. And we all already know Keenan Allen balled last season. Guys, Keenan Allen was top 5 in fantasy points per game last season. I still like DJ Moore a lot from a talent perspective, from an NFL perspective. I think Ridley's floor is a bit higher, though. Heading into week 1, DeAndre Hopkins dealing with an injury. Ridley just locked and loaded it. He's going to lead this team in targets almost definitely. Hey, Sam, good to be back. Goff or Dak? It's Goff. It's Goff. It's got to be Goff. I really want to see what this Cowboys offense looks like here in week 1 against a pretty good Browns defense. The matchups are the reason this has to be Goff. Has to be Goff. Pull up the QB tiers here again on the TikTok live. We're watching live on TikTok, guys. Smash the follow button. Also come to the YouTube live. It's a better viewing experience. Link is right in the TikTok bio. I can share my screen. Like we're about to compare on the YouTube live Goff and Dak, and we're going to see exactly why you kind of need to start Goff over Dak. And look, I don't like being a Dak hater because I think both Dak, Tua, Brock Purdy, all three of these guys I actually think are pretty underrated NFL quarterbacks. I think they are like underrated NFL QBs, but a little bit overrated in fantasy football for slightly different reasons, but all somewhat related. They all had extremely efficient seasons last year and are due for a regression. Tua is actually due for some positive touchdown regression. Tua led the NFL in passing yards last season. Didn't even finish as a top 15 quarterback in fantasy points per game because he barely scored any passing touchdowns because they were so efficient running the ball. Dak, though, is the opposite thing. Dak led the NFL in touchdown rate last season. He had he was QB2. I actually think Purdy was number 1. 6% touchdown rate. I think he led the NFL in total touchdowns, though, because I think that's true. But either way, Purdy and Dak both were over efficient in the touchdown category last season. It's almost never do we see the same quarterbacks lead in this statistic year to year. Then you look at the matchups here. The Browns were the 4th best defense against quarterbacks last season. They allowed only 13.4 fantasy points per game to quarterbacks. Very few quarterbacks had big games against the Browns. Then you look at the Rams. The Rams were the 3rd best possible defense your quarterback could have played against last season, and they did not improve that much defensively this offseason. Goff could go for 30 points tonight. Wouldn't be that crazy. So yeah, it's got to be Goff over Dak in week 1. Especially considering the regression concerns, and then just definitely considering the matchups. All right, Tua or Burrow. This one's pretty close here. I got Burrow and Tua in the same tier 3 this week. If Chase doesn't play, this one's definitely Tua. If Chase does play, I think it's Burrow. It's definitely a tough call here. Both, I think, pretty good game environments. The Jaguars were actually, honestly, God, I think it's Tua. Just looking at this matchup here again, I think I'd go Tua over Burrow. I think I have this different in my rankings. I was following Walter's rankings a bit closely here with my rankings this week. Also, generally speaking, this is the easiest start-sit week of the season because the best possible tiebreaker for your start-sits this week, who did you draft first? And why did you draft that guy first if you're not going to start him? Generally, that's a good way to think about it in week 1. But yeah, here in this case, God, I think you got to go Tua. Tua's got a slightly lower ceiling according to this, but man, the game environment here could be really high scoring. The Jaguar secondary was not very good last season. The Pats defense actually could be pretty good this season. I think it's going to be a really run-first game, too, for the Bengals, especially if Jamar Chase doesn't play, and especially if Jamar Chase doesn't play as much as we think he's going to play if he's actually active. Let me refresh the Twitter feed here to make sure we've got no new news since we started this live. Doesn't seem like it. We're probably going to get some more here in like a couple hours or so. All right, let's keep it going, though. Yeah, I would go Tua over Burrow. What's up? Welcome back. Justin, welcome back to you. We are so back. It is the best day of the week, one of the best days of the year today. I think I would go Trevor over Kirk. Can you put up wide receiver ranks? Yep, I got you. Where's Lamar? None of the players that already played are in these rankings today. Also, I forgot to put Bijan somehow in these rankings, but he's obviously up there in tier 1. All right, Jameson Williams, Chris Godwin, Jerome. Yeah, this has got him. This got to be Godwin. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we haven't talked about this game really at all yet. We got the Buccaneers versus the Commanders. Let me pull up this comparison here. Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, Rachaad White, these guys are all in smash spots today. Smash spots. We got Rachaad White as a top 15. Sorry, that wasn't part of the question, but we got Rachaad White as a top 15 running back. Godwin's a top 25 receiver. Evans is a top 25 receiver. He's actually in the top 15. We got Jameson Williams. Take Evans out here. And we got Ford. And again, I do like Jerome Ford. I do think he's been an underrated guy this whole offseason. But yeah, this one's Godwin like pretty easily because then you scroll down and you see he's got the best possible matchup that you can have as a wide receiver. At least just looking at last year's numbers, which last year's numbers won't translate to this year exactly. But the Commanders are not going to be a top 15 secondary this season. They were abysmal last year. The Buccaneers also got a lot more pass heavy down the stretch. Godwin moving into the slot, that definitely raises his floor a decent amount. Godwin has the highest ceiling of all of these guys. He's also got the highest floor. This is an easy one. You got to make your layups. You got to start Chris Godwin. I assume you drafted Chris Godwin before all these guys do. All right, keep going in these rapid fire. Deontay or McConkey? T. Higgins is screwing me. Yeah, it's got to be Deontay, I think, over McConkey in week 1. I do like McConkey a lot, but definitely a wide range of outcomes for him here in week 1. Yeah, I got Deontay in tier 5, got McConkey in tier 6. They're pretty close. Ceiling is really high for McConkey, but yeah, I still think it's Deontay. Didn't draft a defense. Dropped Taysom or Yoshavas. I was pronouncing Yoshavas incredibly wrong, by the way, in the past live. I still got to catch myself there. Or wait and see who underperforms and pick up the Raiders. Falcons, Bears, Texans. Raiders get the Chargers. They got great wide receivers. Yeah, honestly, I don't hate that at all. I think that's actually a pretty smart way to play it. Wait and see what happens. Then pick up the Raiders against the Chargers. Not a bad spot defensively. The Raiders defense might actually be decent this season too. Let's go. I'm starting Ayuk, Moore, or Connor at the flex. Yeah, so I think you kind of have to bench Ayuk. It sounds like Ayuk is not going to see his normal role. Tyler, I'll get to this here in a second. But yeah, I think I'd probably go. I really do want to start James Conner this week. Let's compare Conner and DJ Moore. Yeah, I think it's going to be Conner. I'm assuming this is a PPR league since he didn't say. Again, scoring settings matter. That's why you got to download the Walter Picks app. It's going to account for all of your specific scoring settings for all the analysis you do. DJ Moore actually gets a slight edge here over James Conner in PPR. If this is half PPR, I'd go Conner. If this is full PPR, I'm going DJ Moore. Going DJ Moore over James Conner. I do really want pieces of that Cardinals in Bill's secondary. Chase Brown or Aaron Jones? Justin Fields or Dak paired with CD or Stafford? Yeah, I'd go Stafford over Fields over Dak. I'm going Stafford there in a pretty good matchup. I kind of also like Baker with Evans paired. Yeah, I like that too, especially against that Commander secondary. I still think I'd probably go Stafford. Let me go back to the QB tiers here. Yeah, it's Stafford. I got Stafford, Fields, and Dak all in the same tier, but I would go Stafford over all of them. And Chase Brown versus Aaron Jones. Chase Brown's in about a good spot as you could get this week, but definitely a wide range of outcomes for him. It's got to be Aaron Jones. It's got to be Aaron Jones in week 1. Yep. Especially against the Giants defense. Yeah, you got to go Aaron Jones. No need to spam. No need to spam in the YouTube comments. I'm going to get to thousands of start sits. I'm going to get to thousands of players. Not thousands of players, but thousands of start sits. Really, like I'll probably get to 1,000 start sit decisions by the time we've already gotten over 100 in this slot. Feels like it, to me at least. What are your spread rankings / picks? Yeah, so let's pull up the game betting insights tool here and the Walter Picks out. I'll talk through some of my favorite picks. I did hit on the Chiefs on Thursday night. I think I probably like. And the Cardinals are 6.5 point underdogs. That seems pretty strong to me. I think I'd probably take the Cardinals plus 6.5. Is probably one of my favorites here. I don't hate the Titans plus 4.5 either. Panthers +4 also. I think that those 3 underdogs seem pretty live to win. Walter disagrees with me on those 2 of those. Agrees with me on the Cardinals. Yeah, I'd probably say my favorite spread, Cardinals +6.5. The Cardinals definitely live to win that game. I do think it's gonna be extremely high scoring though. Don't hit the over in that game either. We do need to do Weatherman Sam though, because there is some weather to just discuss quickly. We got Weatherman Sam this season, locked and loaded. We got the hat ready and everything. Weatherman Sam is here for you guys all season. Look, I'm going to look into the weather every single morning, every single Sunday morning. There's only one game to be aware of today when it comes to the weather, and it is this Buffalo-Arizona game. Unfortunately, this is the game that Weatherman Sam has to report on today. The most important thing when it comes to weather impacting NFL games, it is weather. It is wind over 25 miles an hour. This is the biggest thing that can impact scoring in the NFL. It's not rain. It's not cold. It's not snow. It is wind. The good news here is I'm not overly concerned because the report that I saw this morning was possible wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour. The sustained wind is actually going to be closer to 15 to 20 miles an hour. That's actually not that concerning. When we have sustained wind over 25 miles an hour and then you get like wind gusts, then up to 35, that's pretty tough to throw in. Really tough throwing environment. That's part of the reason the scoring goes down. Throwing is so massively important for scoring in the NFL. So the only weather concern today is in this Cardinals and Bills game. It's part of the reason I really like James Cook even more. I really like that prop over 83.5 total yards for James Cook today because he can get it done in the short passing game, but also in the running game today against a bad Cardinals defense. I do think that 6.5 is a pretty wide spread here, though, for the Bills. I do like the Cardinals at 6.5 here in the spread. So again, I'm not overly concerned. I'm still confidently starting Kincaid. I'm still confidently starting Trey McBride. Definitely starting Marvin Harrison Jr. Definitely starting James Conner in most spots. I did just say DJ Moore over James Conner. Like in that spot, I would DJ Moore in a PPR league. PPR, I'd like to default to the receivers. Non-PPR, half PPR, I like to default to the running backs, just generally speaking. For the receivers, though, for the Bills, like Khalil Shakir is probably the receiver I like the most heading into this game. Curtis Samuel dealing with turf toe. Keon Coleman, a rookie. I think Keon Coleman's role most likely to be in the red zone this season. Kincaid and James Cook locked in. Marvin Harrison Jr., Trey McBride locked in. But yeah, this is the weather. This is the weather game today. Weatherman Sam's got you. Possible 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts in this Bills versus Cardinals game that has me moderately concerned, but not overly concerned. When we get well over this threshold of wind, that's when I get really concerned and where I do think it's going to impact scoring in the offensive game script in the game. All right, we're back to the start sits here. Let me pull up another position here. Let me go to the must starts, must benches on the TikTok live, and I'll pull up the DraftKings lineup here on the YouTube live. I'm making a calculated bet here on the Browns in week 1. Part of the reason I drafted so much Deshaun Watson in best ball, part of the reason I think it is a good game theory strategy on DraftKings week 1. If you're playing in tournaments, this is a tournament lineup here. You got to beat thousands and thousands and thousands of people to win in these tournaments, to get first place in these tournaments and get big prizes. You got to have guys that other people aren't playing. And people don't like Deshaun Watson. People are very down on Deshaun Watson. Deshaun Watson, this is the healthiest Deshaun Watson, guys, has been heading into a season since 2020. And you go back to 2020, and Deshaun has multiple games over 30 points. Deshaun earned one of the highest paid quarterback contracts of all time based on that 2020 and 2019 season. This is the healthiest he's been since then. A potential shootout against the Cowboys. A bit of a scary matchup against the Cowboys defense. But if this team ends up being as pass heavy as I think, I like the Deshaun, Jerome Ford, Jerry Jeudy stack here, running it back with a very cheap Jalen Tolbert in this game. And then we can squeeze Achane in. We can squeeze Justin Jefferson in. 2 guys that could easily finish number 1 overall at their specific positions. Evan Ingram could be number 1 tight end in PPR leagues as well. Got the Evan Ingram Achane stack here in that game. And then the Seahawks defense against Bo Nix and the Broncos. Also got Malik Neighbors here against the Vikings. That's the DraftKings lineup for me today. All right, let's get back to some of these start sits. I'll pull up the wide receiver rankings here. Kyler Murray or Jaden Daniels. Yeah, there's no benching Kyler Murray. You cannot be benching Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray's right up there in tier one of the quarterbacks left, guys. It's Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray. Lock these guys in and feel very good about them. Even though there might be some wind in this Bills game, doesn't matter for Josh Allen in fantasy. That just almost makes it more likely he's going to run it in for touchdowns. Sam, year 4 of me tuning into the live. Let's go. Hudson, year 4, man. I can't believe it. I can't believe how fast time has gone, but man, am I pumped once again for these live streams on Sunday mornings. Godwin, Keenan, Hubbard, PPR. Thanks. Yeah, it's Godwin. Got to start Godwin against the Commanders. Got to do it. He's moving to the slot that raises his floor. He's playing the Commanders that raises his ceiling. You got to feel very, very good about Chris Godwin today. Aaron Jones or Najee Harris? That's a really good one. Really good one. I'll get to this one next in the YouTube live. Let me compare Aaron Jones and Najee on the TikTok live. Sorry, on the YouTube live. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, shout out to you. Hit the follow button and then come to the YouTube live. Because the YouTube live is a better viewing experience. I can share screen like I'm about to compare Najee and Aaron Jones. I actually think we have them back to back. We do in our PPR rankings here in the app. Najee Harris is the safe play. Najee Harris is locked in, I think, to at least 15 touches in this game. I think he's going to be the running back leaned on the most for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Aaron Jones absolutely has a higher ceiling, and he also probably has the better matchup today. So yeah, in PPR league, honestly, I think I might go Aaron Jones, especially if I'm already behind in my matchup. But in a half PPR, non-PPR format, I think you got to go Najee Harris over Aaron Jones. This is a close one. I think the ceiling's higher for Aaron Jones. I also kind of like the odds, though, of Najee scoring a touchdown based on the role I'm expecting for him. I do think he's going to get that goal line role. I'm definitely terrified of Cordell Patterson and Arthur Smith ruining those plans. But yeah, I think in PPR, ceiling-wise, I lean Aaron Jones. Floor-wise, I lean Najee. And in non-PPR formats, you got to go with Najee. Which two would you play out of Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, and Waddle? Oh, God, yeah, this is a tough call. I think you definitely need to start Neighbors. I got Neighbors ahead of Marvin Harrison Jr. today. A really, really good matchup for him. Then you probably also need to start Marvin Harrison Jr. over Waddle. Wow, look, we got the wide receiver 10, 11, 12 in this question. And yeah, the answer here is Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. You got to start Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr. over Jalen Waddle. We're not benching these guys. We're not benching the Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase prospects heading into their first games. Both kind of have good matchups too. I mean, the wind is a tiny bit scary for Marvin Harrison Jr. I am more bullish on Neighbors heading into week 1 than Marvin Harrison Jr. just for this specific week. I've been saying all offseason, though, Neighbors has been a smash value pick in fantasy drafts all offseason because the difference between him and Marvin Harrison Jr. isn't that wide. They're both these generational prospects, both these Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type of prospects. And then in week 1, Neighbors just happens to get the Vikings. Really good spot for him. See, I think you got to bench Waddle here. Goff, Caleb, or Baker. Yeah, it's Goff. Start Goff. Start Goff against the Rams. The Rams were the third best possible matchup for quarterbacks last season, and they didn't do that much to improve the secondary this offseason. We got the Goff and Stafford duo revenge game tonight. Going to be a great one. Definitely think you got to go with Goff. Sam, been in here asking for over an hour. Shout out to everyone who's been in this live stream over an hour. Seriously, I appreciate you guys way more than you could possibly realize. If I did already answer your question, you got to stop spamming in the YouTube live for sure. No need to spam in general. Where's my QB list? Yeah, I got you with the QB list here. Got you with the QB list on the TikTok live. I'll pull up the QB list here on the YouTube live as well. See some people asking for that. I got rankings for every single position. I got tier lists for every single position. So let me know which one you want. Let me go, Sam. Another year for DraftKings. Yeah, I'll pull up the DraftKings lineup again. I did show that earlier, but I got you. I know not everyone wakes up as early as I do on Sunday morning. Sorry, Singletary, Palmer, Deontay. Pick 2 full PPR. Man, Singletary, it was a guy on my new do not draft list. Singletary, Ramondre Stevenson, Zamir White. These were not guys that I was drafting in fantasy. I do think Singletary's floor is pretty high. He's probably going to get 20-plus touches in this game, but it's going to be an ugly 20-plus touches on a bad offense behind a bad offensive line. So yeah, I think you go reverse. Or is this PPR? You said, yeah, you got to bench Singletary here. You got to go Deontay and Palmer. Definitely much higher ceilings here. I think for both these guys from a PPR standpoint. I like Deontay over 4.5 receptions today. That's one of the 3 free props on this live stream. We went 2-0 on Thursday night with Likely. We were all in on Likely on Thursday night over 16.5 receiving yards. He cashed out on the second drive. He went over 100 yards. I like Deontay Johnson over 4.5 receptions as well today. Yeah, Chase replacement. Honestly, though, yeah. So I didn't catch this piece of this question, but guys, I don't think you can bench Jamar Chase for these guys. He hasn't been officially ruled out yet, as far as I've seen. It sounds like he's going to play. Like, I think 80-20 that Jamar Chase plays. He's not going to play his full role, but you still kind of have to start Jamar Chase even not his full role. So I actually think I'd go Chase and Deontay over Josh Palmer. No need to spam. No need to spam in the YouTube chat, and no need to spam in the TikTok chat. We got the running back list for you. I got you. I accidentally left Bijan off this list, by the way. He's obviously in tier 1, though, so that's a fine one to leave off. Hey, Sam, excited for week 1. Me too, man. But Waddle or TTDY? Oh, today. Yeah, so T. Higgins isn't even playing, Aaron. So good morning. T. Higgins is not playing. So definitely get T. Higgins far out of your starting line. He is doubtful for this game. Very weird situation for T. But he said he was feeling as good as he ever has felt heading into week 1. All of a sudden, he's not playing. So, yeah, get T. Higgins out of your line for sure. Thoughts on Mixon this week? Yeah, I absolutely love Mixon this week. I think Mixon is locked into one of the best roles in the NFL, in one of the best offenses in the NFL. Ford or Singletary? It's got to be Ford for sure. All right, we got a question here on the YouTube live. Debo, DK, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, David Montgomery, starter running back and a receiver. Yeah, the receivers. So Debo and DK, I'm assuming this is PPR since you didn't say scoring settings do matter. So let me know if you guys have start sits. Let me know. Is it PPR? Is it half PPR? Is it something else? I'm going to assume it's PPR if you don't say anything. I think the answer here is Metcalf. We actually got Debo a little ahead of Metcalf here. He gets the Broncos. I'm scared about this Jets matchup, but it matters maybe a little bit less for Debo than it does at Ayuk. Debo can still at least get some rushing in this game. Really scary matchup, though, week 1 for the 49ers. But yeah, better floor and ceiling here for Debo. You got to go Debo over DK. And then we got Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, David Montgomery. Yeah, this one's between Monty and Ford. I would start both these guys, I think, over Chase Brown. It's actually pretty close. But yeah, the answer here is Ford. Jerome Ford. Jerome Ford is locked into the lead role for the Browns. Locked in. He's got a higher ceiling than both these guys, and he's got a better floor. He's got the PPR catching. He's got the PPR upside that Chase Brown has. But he also kind of has the rushing floor that David Montgomery has. A little bit worse of a matchup for Ford than versus, for Brown. Probably the best matchup possible is playing the Pats because they're massive favorites. Have Kyler drop Dak for upside? Yeah. I don't think I'm going to tell you to start Dak over Kyler a single time. Maybe see how week 1 plays out, but and then drop Dak for upside after this week when we got a clearer view of the waiver wire. But there's no reason to have Kyler and Dak on your teams. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, smash the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, hit the like button. Have we not hit 100 likes on this live yet, guys? Take 5 seconds. Smash the like button. Helps me out way more than you realize. The other thing you can do, I'm going to get to thousands of start sits on this live stream. I've already gotten to hundreds of them. Brian, I got you with the DFS lineup. Sorry if I just missed a comment there on the YouTube live, but I got you the DFS lineup coming up here in a second. Did already talk through it. I'll talk through it again, though, one more time. If I don't get to your start sit, guys, the best place you could possibly go is the Walter Picks app. It is free. One of the best ways you could possibly support me is downloading the app. Use code SAM when you sign up. It is a free app. There's some premium subscriptions to the app that are well worth it. But whether you use the premium subscriptions or the free version, it's going to help you win in fantasy. It's going to help in your player props. And it's going to help on DraftKings, too. Is Bijan tier 10? No, Bijan's tier 1. I somehow missed him. Bijan's tier 0. That's what Bijan is today. All right, let's get to the DFS lineup. This is very similar to my underdog best ball strategy this offseason. This looks like a lot of my best ball themes here. And there's a reason for that. I don't think a lot of people are going to be playing Deshaun in DFS this week. I don't. He's priced pretty low. People don't like Deshaun, though. They do not like Deshaun. He could be under 5% owned on DraftKings this week. Meanwhile, the Browns might lead the NFL in passing attempts today. They could. They were one of the pass-heaviest offenses in the NFL in the back half of the season last year, and they do not have Nick Chubb. So I like the Deshaun, Jerome Ford, Judy stack is a very unique stack on DraftKings today. And this is a tournament lineup. Here. I would not play this lineup in cash in head-to-head matchups. Tournament lineup, we got Achane and Jefferson in this lineup. Both could be number 1 in their position. I got Neighbors in here. I'm paying a dart throw here. Jalen Tolbert with the bring back against the Browns. Hoping for a high-scoring game here between the Browns and the Cowboys. Hoping that Deshaun shows up to be the 2020 version of Deshaun. Absolutely not a guarantee. I do think it's probably the most likely time that we've seen since 2020, though. This is the healthiest Deshaun has been heading into week 1 since 2020, when he averaged 24 fantasy points per game. Last year, Deshaun played in 5 games. He went over 17 fantasy points in 4 of those 5 games, despite being one of the least efficient quarterbacks in the NFL and battling through injuries. He has improved receivers this offseason. Nobody likes Jerry Jeudy either. I do think he has a chance to turn it around if this offense is as pass heavy as I think. And to me, if it's going to be any week, it might as well be week 1 when Deshaun is at his healthiest. So a lot of the reason people hate Deshaun is they don't think he's going to stay healthy. Well, right now he is healthy. So yeah, I like Deshaun on DraftKings today, stacked with Jeudy, stacked with Jerome Ford. Get Jefferson in there against the Giants, get Malik Neighbors in there against the Vikings, and then stacking Achane and Ingram from that game, and then going with the Seahawks defense against Bo Nix. That's the DraftKings lineup today. Again, tournament lineup there. Monty or Javonte Williams, full PPR, and what defenses would you look for this week? Let me pull the defense rankings here on the YouTube Live. If you watch live on TikTok, I actually don't have the defense rankings as a screenshot for TikTok, but come to the YouTube Live. Links right in the TikTok bio if you want to see the defense rankings. Got those up right now. I like the Vikings, the Seahawks, the Saints, the Bears, the Falcons. What's your creator code? Creator code is Sam. Creator code Sam. Change the list. I got you. Here's the wide receiver list. I accidentally left Bijan off the running back list. That was not intentional, but he's in tier 1, obviously. All right, Javonte or Monty? Let's see about this one. I think this one's pretty close, pretty comparable players here. I do think Javonte has a little bit more PPR upside, assuming this is a PPR league. Yeah, you got to go Javonte. Monty's a pretty boom-bust guy. He's a pretty touchdown-dependent guy. In a game that could be high-scoring, it's not the worst touchdown-dependent player because he should score a lot of touchdowns, similar to Derrick Henry. But he did split a lot of the red zone and goal line work with Jahmyr Gibbs at the end of last season, and he's not going to catch that many passes. So, yeah, I think I would go Javonte over David Montgomery. Good morning, Sam. Brandon, good morning to you. It no longer feels like morning to me. I've been up for over 6 hours. But it technically is still the morning, so good morning to you. Do you think Justin Fields is worth a start over guys like Burrow, Stafford, and Geno? Yeah, so I think he's worth a start over some of these guys, but not all of them. I'll pull up my QB tier list here on the TikTok Live. I'll pull up my QB rankings here on the YouTube Live too as I talk through this one. You can see where I have Justin Fields ranked. Right after Stafford, right after Burrow is where I have Fields ranked. In the app, we have him as QB 15 this week. I got him as QB 11 of the quarterbacks left. But yeah, I would play Stafford over Burrow. I would play Stafford over Burrow. I would play Burrow over Fields. I think I would play Fields over Geno, though. And I don't even hate Geno. Like, there's definitely a ceiling case you could describe for Geno. But Fields has a really good rushing floor, man. A really good rushing floor that Geno just does not have. That Stafford and Burrow don't have. But I think Stafford against the Lions is in a smash spot. You really can't be benching Stafford this week if those are the decisions that you have. I'm playing Stafford over Burrow with, WTF is going on with the Bengals, man. That's one of the storylines I'm watching really closely here in week 1. Jamar Chase is probably going to play, but he's questionable. T. Higgins is likely not playing. He's doubtful. That's not great for Burrow. They're also in a projected really run-heavy game script against a horrible Patriots offense and a pretty good Patriots defense, too. Like, the defense is clearly the strength of the Patriots team yet again for the 3rd straight year. So, yeah, I think it's fine going Stafford in a potential shootout revenge game against the Lions here tonight. What do you think of stacking Monty and Gibbs? I actually did this in a few leagues last year. It worked out tremendously well for me. Team name, by the way, if you're doing this, Lions versus Gazelles. I like that team name a lot. But yeah, I don't hate that. It's a pretty high floor, high ceiling stack. Usually you're lowering your ceiling a little bit by stacking the same running backs on the same teams. But in certain cases, like Mostert and Achane, Gibbs, Montgomery, like it's still pretty high ceiling. New season, new math at. New season, same math at. But I have a couple math ats. You can see an older math at here behind me. But this one I think I had last season too. Hey, Sam, happy football season. Happy football season to you. Jack. Chuba Hubbard, Keenan Allen, Ladd McConkey, pick 2, happy PR. Yeah, so you definitely got to go Keenan here, I think. Happy PR, I feel like he's a little bit closer, though. Like, I want to say McConkey, but in happy PR, I think you've got to go Hubbard over McConkey. And even PPR, we got, I think, Hubbard over McConkey. Yeah, we do. So, yeah, you got to bench McConkey here. I'm okay benching McConkey here in week 1. Like, I was very in on Xavier Worthy. Hopefully I convinced a lot of you to start Xavier Worthy on Thursday night. I don't think I'm as bullish as McConkey as a rookie. And if you bench Xavier Worthy, like, I don't think that was a pretty valid decision. Rookie receiver. I think Xavier Worthy is going to be a bit boom bust. I had a good feeling about him in that Thursday night game with Marquise Brown out. But let's see the role for McConkey. I think McConkey's ceiling is massive, absolutely massive this season. Like, I think McConkey can legitimately win fantasy leagues this year if he ends up being the number 1 receiver for the Chargers and they end up throwing more than people expect and Herbert's foot thing ends up not being super serious. But week 1, I'd rather sit him out for the more established veterans, Keenan Allen, Chuba Hubbard here. Chuba Hubbard could easily get 20 touches in this game. Good morning, Sam. You rocking with Jerome Ford, Calvin Ridley, or Javonte Williams in the flex? It's got to be Ridley here. Got to be Calvin Ridley. Start Calvin Ridley this week. I do like Ridley a lot. Ridley's locked in to lead this team in targets. So yeah, I do like that. I do like Jerome Ford too, but I think I like Ridley more, especially if it's a PPR league. Appreciate you being here. Got you, man. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all of you being here. Guys, this is one of my favorite things to do all year. These Sunday morning lives, they hold a very close place in my heart. I've been doing this for 4 straight years, back to back to back to back years. Every Sunday morning, I look forward to it all year. I look forward to it all week, man. So shout out to everybody in here. Make sure you hit that subscribe and like button if you're watching live on YouTube. Hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. Let me know what position you want to see next in the rankings and tier lists. All right, let's get to the start sit though. We're going to get hundreds, if not thousands of start sits on this live stream. Which two are you playing at the flex slot? We got McLaurin, Kirk, and Jerome Ford. Gibbs, Walker, and JJ Ayuk are my starting. Yeah. I do think you can consider benching Ayuk this week. I don't think that's that crazy. I don't want to bench McLaurin. You got to start McLaurin. You got to start McLaurin against the Bucs. McLaurin is just so by far the top receiver for the Commanders. And I do think there's like people aren't quite realizing what Jaden Daniels is yet. Jaden Daniels was built in a factory for fantasy football. Like if you went into a factory, you're like, build me a quarterback for fantasy football. Out would come Jaden Daniels. Really, like the only thing he's missing is that Anthony Richardson size. He doesn't have that goal line potential that Anthony Richardson has. What he does have that Anthony Richardson does not have is extremely accurate deep passing ability. He was the most accurate deep passer in all of college football last season. Like his ceiling is a combination of prime Russell Wilson and Lamar Jackson. That's the ceiling for Jaden Daniels. That's an extraordinarily high ceiling. The real ceiling in fantasy comes when you match the rushing production in the quarterback position with elite deep passing ability. This is the one concern I have for Anthony Richardson. We've never seen him be an accurate deep passer. What we do see him be is one of the best goal line players in the entire NFL. One of the best red zone rushers in the NFL is Anthony Richardson. Part of the reason he's got to be started, obviously. But you really get that ceiling when you get both the rushing and the passing. And that's what Jaden Daniels, I think, has. That's going to be good news for McLaurin as the clear top receiver on that offense. Really excited to see Luke McCaffrey out there today, too. But yeah, I got to start McLaurin here over Christian Kirk, over Jerome Ford. And then, honestly, Christian Kirk versus Ayuk. Let's do this comparison because Ayuk, there's already been reports that Ayuk's probably not going to see his full role. Also, a really tough matchup for Ayuk, maybe against the best secondary in the NFL, against the Jets. So that's working against him. Matchups working against him. Role is working against him because he really didn't practice that much. And yeah, I do think you got to bench Ayuk here. I would play Christian Kirk over Ayuk. Watch him for 3 years now. Let's go, man. Who should I start between Ridley, Montgomery, and McLaurin, PPR? Yeah, so I like Ridley and McLaurin a lot today. Let's do this one really quick. I think it's probably McLaurin. Ridley gets a slight edge in projection here. Let's see, though. Ridley's got a higher boom percentage. McLaurin's got a much better floor, which makes a lot of sense to me. I think I'd probably lean McLaurin. Better matchup for McLaurin. Bears defense is definitely a sneaky good defense. Again, I like Ridley this week a lot too. I'm telling most people to start Ridley. Let me go back to the wide receiver tier list here. Seahawks or Bengals defense, probably Bengals against the Pats. There's not a better defense matchup than the Pats right now. With Jacoby Brissett starting, just start the defense playing the Pats and set it and forget it. That's part of the reason I drafted the Seahawks in all my leagues, because not only do they get a good matchup week 1, they also get Jacoby Brissett next week. That's why I have the Seahawks defense in like all my leagues. But yeah, if I had to choose this week, I'd probably go Bengals over Seahawks. Should I drop Bryce Young for Will Levis? Yeah, I'd probably do that. Let's see how it goes week 1, though. I don't think it's like that far off. Yeah, so I think I would go. I think I personally would go McLaurin over Ridley, but Ridley has a slightly higher ceiling. I like the floor for McLaurin though a lot. Good pre-noon, Sam. Good pre-noon to you as well. Didn't draft a defense. Yeah, so we talked about this one already. I like the idea of holding out and then seeing how things go and then picking up the Raiders. Between Yoshabas and Taysom, I do think both those guys are intriguing 1 o'clock players. Brian Robinson Jr. or Chuba Hubbard? It's got to be Chuba Hubbard. Has to be Chuba Hubbard. Not only is Brian Robinson Jr. probably not going to catch many passes this season because of Austin Eckler's presence and Jaden Daniels being less likely to throw to the running backs, but also Jaden Daniels could be a threat in the red zone, stealing rushing touchdowns. Then you look at Chuba Hubbard. He's locked into a really big workload today. I think you got to go Chuba Hubbard over Brian Robinson Jr. No reason to spam. Guys, spamming is not going to make it likely that I answer your comment. Darnell Mooney or Brian Thomas, half PPR. That was actually pretty close. It's probably Brian Thomas, though. I think Brian Thomas is just a bit more exciting here. I do like the upside story for Darnell Mooney. I think we're going to have to see it, though, before starting him over Brian Thomas Jr. Smash that like button. Yes, hit the like button if you're watching live on YouTube. Smash the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. Let me know what rankings list you want to see next. I got rankings for every single position. I got tier lists for every single position. Malik Neighbors or Diggs. Can I hear the reasoning? Yep, I got you with the Malik Neighbors reasoning over Steph Diggs. I think this one's pretty easy. It's pretty easy. And look, I get it. Putting Steph Diggs on your bench, it's not going to feel good. But what's going to feel worse is having Malik Neighbors on your bench when he gets the Vikings secondary. The Vikings secondary is one of the best possible matchups for receivers last season. They allowed 24.1 points per game to receivers last season. That was the 6th worst in the NFL, or the 6th best, depending on how you're looking at it. It was a good matchup for receivers. Then you look at the Giants team right now, and I think they probably have the biggest gap between the talent of their best player and their next best player in their offense. I think it is the Giants. Like, it might be the Cowboys. Maybe it's CeeDee Lamb down to Jake Ferguson. But it's probably Malik Neighbors down to Wan'Dale Robinson or Darius Slayton or Devin Singletary. I mean, absolutely insane, man. Absolutely insane drop-off. He's by far the best player on his offense. He gets a fantastic matchup. I think he's getting at least 10 touches today. And there's just not many receivers you can say that about. You can't say that about Steph Diggs. This is the problem with the Texans receivers. The problem with the Texans receivers is probably at least one of them is going to disappoint every week, and the other two are going to smash. And Diggs could be the smash this week, or he could be the one that disappoints. Yeah, so if C-Mac doesn't play Mason or Montgomery, it seems like this one's flying under the radar from a lot of people, but Christian McCaffrey is questionable this week. He got raised to a questionable tag. He was up, I think he was on the injury report as like probable. Now he's questionable, calf and Achilles, they're saying, unrelated to his injury from last season. I do think he's going to play. And yeah, I would go Montgomery. I mean, if he doesn't play, actually, you just start Mason. But I do think he's going to play. So Mason's a fine backup, though. I definitely would have, if you have Christian McCaffrey, you should also have Mason. Samster, let's go. If Chase doesn't play today, who are we starting over him? Addison, Ford, Samuel, Warren, or Gus? Yeah, it's Ford. It's got to be Ford. Over Addison, Ford, over Samuel, Ford, over Jalen Warren, Ford, over Gus Edwards, for sure. Ford has the PPR upside, and he's got the rushing floor. He's the clear best running back for the Browns, a team that I think could be pretty high scoring today, pretty pass heavy today. Rome or McConkey? Yeah, got to be Rome, man. Got to be Rome Odunze. I think I'd go Rome Odunze over McConkey. I'd prefer to have McConkey on the bench today if possible. Not an amazing matchup here against the Raiders. Rome Odunze is a better prospect than him. Rome Odunze is closer to Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison Jr. than he is to Ladd McConkey. And I do like the ceiling for McConkey, but I'd rather that ceiling, play out on my bench in week 1. I think Odunze has a much higher floor than McConkey. Running back ranks, please. Yeah, I got you the running back rankings. I got you. The thing to understand about these running back rankings is I accidentally left out Bijan Robinson. He's obviously tier 1, though. So not a bad guy to accidentally forget in the running back ranks this week. By the way, I do think Ja'Marr Chase is going to play. So, Adrian, I'd love to see the Samster nickname back in the chat. And I do appreciate the thought because you got to plan ahead. I think there's a 20% chance Ja'Marr Chase does not play. And for that reason, you got to plan ahead. But I do think Chase is going to play. And I think if Chase plays, you got to start him, man. He's putting you in a tough spot, but you got to start him. Even at 50% of Ja'Marr Chase's role, I think he's a better option than Jerome Ford, a better option than Jordan Addison. Some of these other guys are going to have to start him over. So, yeah, I think you're forced to start your first-round pick in fantasy in week 1, even if he's not at 100% role. That's going to be Ja'Marr Chase. Stop spamming. No need to spam, guys. I'm going to get to hundreds of start sits. I'm going to talk about every single player and every single game on this live stream. We got multiple hours to go. We're not even halfway through the live yet, man. We're just getting started. So, yeah, no need to spam. I'm going to get to so many games, so many players. You're going to see your player talked about. But also, I got rankings for every position. So if I don't get your comment, we got you there. But also, guys, download the Walter Picks app. This app I'm showing up on the YouTube screen right now. If you're watching live on TikTok, by the way, we are also live on YouTube, and it is a better viewing experience. See someone asking for the QB tiers. I got you with that. But the Walter Picks app is free. It's a free app to download. There's some premium subscriptions that you got to pay for certain features, but you can use the app for free, and it will help you in fantasy. And the premium subscriptions start as little as $15 a month. Well worth it. Well worth the price. But I got that up on screen in the YouTube live. Like we're comparing Diggs and neighbors right now. It's a clear neighbors over Diggs in week 1. All right, let's do this comparison here in PPR. We got Godwin, Aaron Jones, Moss, Mostert. This is like maybe as good of a matchup possible for Moss. I do think back to a while back when Moss was on the Colts and got absolutely steamrolled by the Pats. I don't even remember if Moss was playing in that game or not. I do think all of these guys I would play over Mostert. Mostert's as boom bust as it gets at the running back position. He's a touchdown-dependent running back who led the NFL in touchdowns last season. He could score 3 touchdowns. It wouldn't be that crazy. But if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's probably not going to be a guy you wanted to start in fantasy. I would probably start Godwin, Aaron Jones, and Zach Moss over Mostert today. But yeah, this answer in the PPR league, it's got to be Godwin. It's got to be Godwin. He gets a fantastic matchup against the Commanders. Mostert or Connor, I'd go Connor. Deontay Johnson or Chase? Yeah, you got to start Chase, man. You got to start Chase if he's playing. No team allowed more points to receivers last year than the Commanders. I think we got to get the offensive line stuff out of here so we have some data for this. No teams allowed more points than the Commanders to receivers last season. They did not improve their secondary very much. Godwin's now moving to the slot. That raises his floor a lot, and the matchup raises his ceiling. Should I start Achane? Yes, you should always start Achane. Start Devon Achane. There is not a single player that I drafted more in fantasy football than Devon Achane this season. I got a little aggressive with it in year 2. In round 2, excuse me. Pick one. James Conner, DK, or Swift. I'd probably go James Conner, then DK, then Swift. It's between those first two for me over Swift. Hey, Sam, Pickens or Jameson Williams? I would go Pickens. Pickens could sneakily be the DJ Moore of this season, especially with Justin Fields starting. I think that's like a very realistic comparison. Extremely talented player who hasn't gotten enough opportunity yet, and he's by far the best receiver on his team. A lot of comparables to DJ Moore from last season. An offense that might actually just struggle. How likely is Fields to play? He's playing. Like I think it's 90% chance that Fields plays. I think 80% chance that Jamar Chase plays. That's kind of where I'm at right now. Again, I'm purely speculating, but that's my read on it right now. I don't know how you could possibly put Russell Wilson out there given his situation if you're the Steelers. Good to be back, Sam. It is great to be back, Luke. It is fantastic to be back. We are so back. Fields or Stafford? I'm going Stafford over Fields. Fields or Dak? I think I'd go Fields over Dak. I do think I'd play Fields over Dak. I'd play Fields over Tua. I'd play Fields over Caleb Williams. I'd play him over Dak. I'd play him over Cousins, over Herbert. I'd play him over Geno and Baker and Rodgers. I don't think I'd play Fields over Stafford, though. I don't think I'd play Fields over Burrow, assuming Jamar Chase plays. I'm not playing Fields over Jaden Daniels or Trevor Lawrence or Deshaun. I'm not playing Fields over Deshaun. I'm not playing Fields over Goff or Stroud. All right, let's get back to this comment here in the YouTube Live. By the way, if you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button and then come to the YouTube Live. The YouTube Live is a better viewing experience. I can share my screen and pull up comments on the screen. Gonna get to comments in both, though. Where's Lamar? Yeah, so I have no players that already played. This is the rest of week rankings here. I'm locked in on the rest of the week and helping you guys crush the rest of the week. Tomorrow, I'll start posting content reacting to the previous week and kind of how I think things looking forward. All right, here we go. I'm in a full PPR 2 flex league, and T. Higgins is out. Yeah, T. Higgins is out. Get T. Higgins out of your lineups. Let me pull this up here. T. Higgins is definitely one of the must benches this week. DeAndre Swift, Javonte Williams, Tajay Spears. Also, should I start Kmet or Taysom Hill? Yeah, I want nothing to do with Kmet. I'm not going to lie. He was on my do not draft list this season because he's going to be rotating with Gerald Everett. But not only is he rotating with Gerald Everett, at best, he's the 5th best receiving option in the offense. Adunze is much better than him. Keenan Allen's much better than him. DJ Moore is much better than him. And I think DeAndre Swift is probably better than him too. And then Gerald Everett's going to play half the snaps and maybe get half the targets. Extremely low floor every week for Kmet. Maybe there's a decent ceiling there. He actually has been a pretty good young tight end in terms of the production he's had so far in the NFL, but the role and the situation is just not looking great this year. Meanwhile, Taysom Hill, he's probably the goal line back for the Saints. I think Taysom Hill is the best running back after Kamara on the Saints. And they've been pumping him up all offseason about how big a role he's going to play. I think Taysom over Kmet's fine, man. And like when I'm playing at the tight end slot, if I got the tight end cliff last year, and there's a huge tight end cliff. Sorry, this draft season, not last year, last week in my drafts. If I missed the tight end cliff, and the cliff was really Njoku. Bowers, maybe was in that cliff. Goddard, maybe. But like after Goddard, you're looking at Kmet, you're looking at Schultz. After those guys, like I do just kind of want Taysom Hill because at least Taysom Hill, he also could get 0 points. Kmet could be close to 0 points. Like all these tight ends really after that range of after Goddard went in your draft, all at risk for basically 0 points every given week, like extremely low floors. But at least Taysom gives you an extremely high ceiling because he could score multiple rushing touchdowns. He could throw and he could catch passes. Like he has an extremely high ceiling at least. I'd prefer that in the tight end slot if I don't have one of these top tight ends. And I think the tight end tiers, man, are super clear, super, super clear. You got to start Laporta, McBride, Kincaid, Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts. I like Jake Ferguson, Kittle, and Njoku. I'm fine with Bowers. I kind of think he's in a weird tier of his own just based on the offense that he's in. But I think Bowers is being slept on just in general. If you don't know much about Brock Bowers, just know this. From my perspective, he's arguably in that Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze tier, like from a receiving perspective. That's how good of a prospect Brock Bowers was. The problem is he's on a Raiders offense led by Gardner Minshew. Michael Mayer's also going to play. He's got to compete with Devontae Adams for targets. This team wants to be run first. A lot of different stuff and dynamics at play here for Bowers, but the talent is there for Bowers. But yeah, then it's Schultz and Taysom, I think, for me. Then Muth, Fant, K-Dot, and I got Cole Kmet way down. I actually might have accidentally left Kmet off this list too. But yeah, start McBride. Definitely start McBride. How likely is Fields to play? I think 80% shot that he plays. 90% shot that he plays. Chase, how we doing? Tajay Spears or Jacoby Myers, full PPR? Yeah, I think I'd go Spears. I think I'd go Spears here. I'm really intrigued to see how the targets shape out for the Raiders. Jacoby's coming off a great season, man. A great season. But now he's competing with Brock Bowers. Trey Tucker's stepping into a bigger role. Again, run first offense. Tajay Spears is locked into a pretty safe role. He's going to catch passes. He's going to get half the work in the backfield. Who would you start week 1, Murray or Goff? Yeah, you cannot bench Kyler Murray. Let me pull the QB tiers here again on the TikTok live. Let me pull up the QB rankings here on the YouTube live. Guys, we're live on TikTok and YouTube. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button. Hit the subscribe button. We got to get over 100 likes on this YouTube live, man. Smash the like button. Takes you 2 seconds. Helps me out a ton. If you're watching live on TikTok, guys, hit the follow button. Del Shakir Neighbors. Do not bench Malik Neighbors today. He's playing a bottom 10 secondary from last season. He is by far the best weapon on his own offense. All right, we'll go running back then receiver list. Next, let me go to the running back list here. By the way, accidentally, Bijan was left off this list. This list does not include players that already played this season. All right, we got Chuba Hubbard, Jerome Ford, Josh Palmer. Chuba Hubbard, Jerome Ford are really comparable guys. The difference, I think, is that I'm more bullish on the Browns offense just in general than I am on the Panthers offense. I do think Chuba Hubbard probably has a better chance to out-touch Jerome Ford. And then Josh Palmer in PPR is definitely a play here too. Close one, but yeah, it's Ford. It's Ford just slightly here over Josh Palmer, over Chuba Hubbard. I'm not ranking players that already played. This is the rankings for the rest of the week. Thoughts on Gesicki? Yeah, I mean, maybe a subtle winner of all this ridiculous stuff going on for the Bengals. Still no reports yet about what to expect. Russell Wilson is the first Steelers QB out on the field to throw during warmups. Schefter says on ESPN that Jamar Chase is legitimately questionable ahead of today's game versus the Pats. When Adam Schefter speaks, you got to listen. I was saying throughout this live stream so far, we're about 2 hours into this live. We've got another 2 hours to go, so don't go anywhere. I'll get you the live reporting as anything comes out. One of the biggest question marks right now is Jamar Chase going to play? I thought it was, what was I saying, 80-20? I thought it was 80% chance he plays, 20% chance he doesn't play. Honestly, I think I was too optimistic. Now I'm feeling more like it's 55-45 based on this comment from Schefter, legitimately questionable. I think 55% chance he plays. Still think it's more likely he plays than he doesn't play. But he doesn't have the contracts he wants. He might not play. That would be good for Gesicki for sure. Sam, which would be the better pick for week 1? Dak or Murray? It's Murray. It's got to be Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray over basically everybody this week, guys. He gets the Bills defense that already dealing with some injuries. They already have one of their middle linebackers out. I don't know if the Bills defense is going to be so great this season. I do expect the Cardinals offense to take a huge leap. There is going to be some moderate wind in that game, but I'm not overly concerned about that. Keenan Allen or Chris Godwin? Yeah, it's Godwin today. Godwin against the Commanders. Start Chris Godwin against the Commanders. Let me go to the wide receiver tiers here. Seeing some comments for that. Sam, thank you so much as always for answering my questions. Going to keep this stream up, but just want to say thanks. Got you, Kyle. I'm going to get to hundreds of start sits, and I appreciate you staying tuned in. Make sure you guys hit that like button too if you haven't yet. Start Jane Daniels or Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, this one's close, man. Close. Let's do this comparison quick because I do want to start Jane Daniels. Trevor Lawrence in a pretty good spot as well. Yeah, we got these guys back to back in the Walter Picks app projection. Both projects 18.5 points. Honestly, I think I'd go Daniels. I think I'd go Daniels over Lawrence, even though it's a little bit risky with him coming out of the gates as a rookie. The rushing is there. I think the passing upside is pretty comparable. I think Lawrence is definitely the safer play, and that's what Walter Picks app is projecting here too. By the way, download the app, especially if I don't get to your start sit, guys. Start sit question, the best place you could possibly go for start sit analysis is the Walter Picks app, and it's free. It's a free app. The premium subscriptions in there are also well worth it. All right, let's get back to some of these start sits. We're going to go rapid fire here. Neighbors are white. I'm not benching Neighbors this week. I will not bench Malik Neighbors this week. If I snag Neighbors in my draft, I'm going to start Neighbors. Like he might be actually a tier 1 option, not even tier 2 where I have him here. We're at the top of tier 2 in the TikTok Live. Let me pull up the wide receiver rankings here again. I got Neighbors ranked as wide receiver 8 among the receivers left. Hey, Sam, happy first Sunday. Happy first Sunday to you as well, Dante. It feels like Christmas morning. I don't know if you guys feel that too. I'm definitely feeling it. We got tons of good football games on our TV screens in just a couple of hours now. All right, I'm worried about Jamar not playing. Yeah, I'm definitely worried about that too, especially after this latest Schefter comment. I put the odds right now at Jamar Chase, 55% chance he plays. You got to have contingency plans in place. We're not going to know probably till right up till 90 minutes before the game, which is soon. We're going to know probably in the next hour or so. Who would you start if he doesn't? Ladd, McConkey, Palmer, or Swift? Yeah, so Palmer versus Ladd is super close. I think Palmer is probably the better option in week 1, just until we see the role for Ladd. I think the ceiling for Ladd this season is much higher, though. Wow, we actually have McConkey project a little bit ahead of Palmer in week 1. And we looked at Swift. I do think Swift could see a pretty big role here in week 1. Happy PR. This is definitely going to change. This is probably going to bump Swift here. Thanks for the scoring settings. Scoring settings matter. This is part of the reason the Walter Picks app is like oftentimes a better place for your start sit questions than even this live stream in what I can do. Because if you don't tell me the scoring settings, the app is going to know the scoring settings of your league, especially if you sync your league. Again, one of the best places to go for fantasy advice is the Walter Picks app. Links in the TikTok bio. Link is in the YouTube description. Do I think CeeDee Lamb and Cupper are going to be a good duo? Yeah, a fantastic duo. You did a great job there. It's Swift. Yeah. In generally speaking, when you go to the half PPR settings, you got to lean towards the running backs because the rushing production is just a little bit more valuable. Where's Cup? He's in tier 1. He's before Jefferson here and before Puka. Will Goff have a breakout game today or still use Murray? Use both. I think you got to start Murray, and I like Goff too. Let me pull the QB tiers here again on the TikTok Live. And I'll pull the QB rankings here again on the YouTube Live. You can't bench Kyler against the Bills. You just can't. I think at the first question here, we're seeing about Amari Cooper. You got to play the Vikings defense for sure. Vikings defense over the Jets defense. I'm a person, I almost always just side based on matchup when it comes to defenses. Like Jets defense, in a vacuum, it's better than the Vikings defense. But given the matchups, Jets get the 49ers, Vikings get the Giants, you got to play the Vikings defense. And then Amari Cooper versus Myers, this one's easy. It's got to be Amari Cooper. Not even close. Not even a close one. You got to make your layups. I think that's a layup. You got to play Amari over Jacoby. Hey, Sam, should I start Kincaid or Evan Ingram? Yeah, this one's super, super close. I really do like Evan Ingram a lot today. I think I like Kincaid a bit more, though. The Cardinals were horrible defending the middle of the field last season, right where Kincaid's going to be working today. A bit of wind in this game. I do think that probably pushes more targets towards Kincaid and James Cook and away from Shakir and Keon Coleman, who run some of the more deep routes in this offense. Yeah, so you got to go Kincaid. This is half PPR, and PPR, I think that bodes a bit better for Ingram, but still, yeah, it's still Kincaid. Hope you're doing good, Sam. Thank you, man. I hope you guys are all doing well, too. It is a fantastic, fantastic Sunday morning. It feels like Christmas morning. I have Falcons and Cowboys defense, but I'm starting Amari. Yeah, man, with this type of stuff, I usually like to not think about it this way and just start the best defense. Which for me, let me pull up the defense rankings here on the YouTube live. I don't have defense rankings. Do I bench Burrow if Jamar doesn't play? Probably. Depends who you have. I would play Stafford over him. I'd play Fields over him. Fields is probably available if Chase doesn't play. They're going to be a pretty run-heavy offense, I think. I'm very intrigued. Let me pull up the defense rankings. I do have the Falcons ahead of the Cowboys. I think I would go Falcons here. I'm very, very intrigued to see if Jermaine Burton plays. Whether Chase plays or not, how are you going to make Jermaine Burton by far your third most talented receiver on the team? I get that Yoshabas has outperformed him in preseason, and he's almost definitely going to be ahead of Jermaine Burton on the depth chart. And like there's reports coming out that Jermaine Burton might be a healthy scratch before the T. Higgins stuff, and T. Higgins not playing, and before it became really clear that there's a real risk of Jamar Chase not playing today. Again, I put it at 55% chance Chase doesn't play. All right, Kayla, I got you in the YouTube live. Backups to Jerome Ford against Dallas or Komet against Tennessee. Yeah, you got to go Jerome Ford here. You got to go Jerome Ford. Komet is a start-sit nightmare. He's probably going to have a few big games this season, but it would not shock me if Komet gets close to 0 points because he's going to be rotating with another tight end in this offense, and this offense is full of weapons. DJ Moore, Rome Odunze. They also have Keenan Allen. They also have DeAndre Swift. And then this coach has a history of rotating tight ends, and the second tight end on this offense has a history with the coach, Gerald Everett. He has a history with this offensive coordinator. And in the preseason, they were rotating almost 50-50. So, yeah, I'm not starting Komet basically in any situation. Yeah, T. Higgins is not going to play. Doubtful means out in today's NFL. There's actually a time last season where T. Higgins was doubtful, and he played, but he didn't actually play. He was just on the sidelines in case they really needed him, but he barely played. So even if he's active, I would not play T. Higgins. So, yeah, Jerome Ford's a great option. I think Jerome Ford's a really, really good sleeper heading into this season. He's the clear running back one for his team. He catches passes. He's going to get carries on the ground, too. I really do like Jerome Ford a decent bit. Running back rankings. Yeah, I got you with the RB rankings. On the TikTok Live, got you with the running back rankings on the YouTube Live as well. Let me know in the comments which one you want to see next. CeeDee Lamb is locked into tier 1. Is Chase going to play? 55% chance he plays. That's where I'm at right now. There was just a report that came out from Adam Schefter saying he is legitimately questionable. That puts him in the 50% range of starting. We're going to know here probably in the next hour or so. Jamar Chase is warming up on the field. So that seems like an encouraging sign, but that's still not confirmation he's going to play. Still not confirmation he's going to play. What is this? What is this that I'm seeing? Sources or we do not care. McLaurin or Godwin? Yeah, this is a really, really close one for me. I want to start both these guys. Where's Bijan? I accidentally left him off, but he's obviously tier 1. Bijan starts Bijan. It was a good guy to accidentally leave off because he's an obvious start, locked in, tier 1 guy. I put him, I've all off season, I've had him before Brees. I had Bijan before Brees. Bijan. Where's Bijan? Yeah, he's in tier 1, guys. He's in tier 1. Yeah, let's do McLaurin and Godwin here. I think we had a similar question here earlier. Yeah, God, this is so close. McLaurin, I think you got to go McLaurin. Godwin's a bit safer. McLaurin's ceiling is a bit higher. I think they're both pretty safe. Yo, Connie, where's this coming from? Sources. Send the sources. Because I'm not seeing anything about this. All right, now I'm seeing something. Tyreek Hill has been spotted in handcuffs outside of Hard Rock Stadium just before today's season opener versus the Jaguars. And I'm seeing a video that is Tyreek Hill, and that is him in handcuffs. My goodness. What a week 1. We got Jamar Chase out here. Truly questionable. Still waiting for like a real media source to report this one. But I did see a video just now. We're going to see. We're going to see. It's so over. My goodness. So we do got LOL. Gerson. Sam, it's all over Twitter. I'm seeing it on Twitter as well now. I am. Tyreek Hill. I'm not seeing it from any like big media sources that are confirming it. I'm definitely seeing videos though also. And not from like any super reliable sources. Again, sources matter, guys. Sources do matter. But I'm seeing it on Twitter too. I'm seeing a video of Tyreek Hill in handcuffs right now on my Twitter feed. Again, here we go. Adam Schefter, 11 seconds ago. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was detained by police today entering the stadium for a driving violation. But according to his agent, he is going to play today. My goodness. We got Adam Scheffler, the golfer who was arrested before his golfing tournament. Seems like a similar situation here. Dolphins wide receiver Tyreek Hill was detained by police today. Videos of him getting handcuffed by police while entering Hard Rock Stadium for his game. Per his agent, he is going to play today. My goodness. What a week one. So yeah, I mean, crazy stuff. And by the way, absolutely love Scotty Scheffler. My bad, I said Adam Scheffler. I'm Adam Schefter. Adam Scheffler. I'm not a golf guy. But yeah, this is a Scotty Scheffler type of situation here. Book Tyreek for 10 catches, 200 yards, and a couple TDs today if he's playing. Hey, Sam, it's time for the first NFL Sunday of the year. Should I start James Conner or Jacoby Myers? Gotta be James Conner. And yes, Tyreek Hill did get arrested. Yes, it does sound like he's still going to play. And yes, he is my wide receiver one this week. Rightfully so. My goodness. All right. I do have some free props. I know someone was asking about that. We went 2-0 on Thursday night pretty easily. Made 2 layups Thursday night. Isaiah Likely over 16.5 receiving yards cashed on that. We also had Nelson Aguilar under 1.5 receptions cashed on that. Today, the 3 free player props. Tyler Boyd over 24.5 receiving yards. Like this one a lot. His floor is close to this line. He is going to be an every down slot player for the Titans offense. That's going to throw way more this season. DeAndre Hopkins is questionable. He's going to play, but he might not be at full steam. That can be more targets towards Tyler Boyd. James Cook over 84.5 rushing receiving yards. This is probably my favorite one of the 3, honestly, because I think the floor for James Cook today is in the 60s or 70s in terms of total yards. I think the Cardinals defense might be the worst defense just across the board in the NFL. There's going to be some wind gusts in this game. I do think that pushes more carries and more short targets to James Cook potentially. A lot of different ways James Cook could cash on this prop line. I think 84.5, this should really be close to 100 here for James Cook. And then Deontay Johnson over 4.5 receptions. There's no chance he gets under 3 catches in this game. So again, his floor is just so close to this line. He could get 10 catches in this game. Wouldn't be that crazy. Adam Thielen had the 9th most receptions in the NFL last season. The 9th most receptions in the NFL last season. And Deontay Johnson's in that role now for the Panthers. A Panthers team that almost has to be better this year. Bryce Young has to take a year 2 leap. He's got a better coach, Dave Canales, who revived Baker Mayfield, who revived Geno Smith, and now he's going to revive Bryce Young. They also improved the offensive line a ton this offseason, and then, of course, they added Deontay Johnson. So here's my 3 free player props of the day. We're 2-0 so far this season. We're trying to go 5-0. Tyler Boyd over 24.5 receiving yards. James Cook over 84.5 total yards, and then Deontay Johnson over 4.5 receptions. That is what I like today. All right, we got the defense rankings up on the YouTube live. I actually don't have them as a screenshot for the TikTok live, but come to the YouTube live. Links right in the TikTok bio. I got that defensive rankings up right now. Can I do running backs next? Yeah, I got you with the running backs. Do I play Chase? Only if Chase plays. If Chase plays, though, yes, you should play Chase. Tyreek Hill did get arrested. Tyreek Hill was detained by police just minutes ago, entering Hard Rock Stadium for his Week 1 game. Per his agent, though, he is still expected to play today. This is a Scotty Scheffler situation for Tyreek Hill. There's videos of him in handcuffs right outside of Hard Rock Stadium. Pretty unreal stuff, guys. Pretty unreal stuff. I guess it was a driving violation. Cheetah, I think, was going too fast. Wild stuff. Moss or Mostert or Ladd for flex. If that's PPR league, God, I think Moss and Mostert's super close. I prefer to have Ladd on my bench in Week 1. Like, he has such a high ceiling this season, but I do want to see what the role looks like for him in week 1. I think it's Moss over Mostert. Yeah, it's Moss over Mostert. A higher ceiling for Mostert for sure. Mostert led the NFL in touchdowns last season. Taysom Hill or Pat Freiermuth? Yes, let me go to the tight end tiers here because that one's actually pretty close. I actually have Taysom ahead of Freiermuth. Taysom Hill, if I don't have Laporta, McBride, Kincaid, Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts, Jake Ferguson, Kittle, and Njoku are one of the tight ends that already played, and I don't have Brock Bowers, I kind of just want to play Taysom Hill. Yes, Tyreek Hill did get arrested. This is true. This is not false news. We had it reported well before Adam Schefter reported it. We had it reported in the YouTube live comments, and I was questioning, "What? Tell me the source." This is good journalism. You want good sources, and we got good sources now. But really, you got to trust the sources sometimes, just in the comments, because the comments of this live stream, guys, you got to understand. If you're tuned into this live stream, like, you're in the top 5 percentile, like you're in the top 95th percentile of fantasy managers out there. Like, you found this stream because you are a smart person who wants smart analysis backed by actual numbers, actual math, and therefore in the comments, I probably should just trust what I'm seeing more often. I'm sorry for doubting the Tyreek Hill comments. Minutes. We were like 5 minutes ahead of Schefter here in the comments. Love to see that, man. Love to see that. Great work in the comments today in week 1. We are all so ready. We are all so back for football. And yes, Tyreek Hill was arrested. Tyreek Hill was put in handcuffs. And Tyreek Hill is likely playing today. And Tyreek Hill has not moved in my ranks. He's still literally wide receiver 1. Jordan Addison or Eckler, Walter Picks fans and sub. Matt Brooks, great to see you back in the live today, man. Happy week 1 to you. And yeah, fans and subs are greater than. Seriously, man, I've learned so much and gained so much from the comment section, from the subscribers. I learned a ton from all of you, just as much as you learned from me, maybe even more, honestly. All right, Amari Cooper. What was that previous one? It was Addison versus, I forget who was Addison versus someone. Sorry, I was just so locked into the Tyreek story there. I don't love Jordan Addison today. Like, if this is, I've been all offseason not scared about Justin Jefferson, not scared at all. He's what was one of my most drafted round 1 picks in all the underdog drafts. Obviously, JJ McCarthy's injury, I don't think was good for him. But of anyone, like, Addison is the guy I'm most scared about. I think it might have been someone like Jerome Ford. Like, I'd probably go Jerome Ford over Addison. I think I'd play Chuba Hubbard over Addison. The floor is really low for Addison. The ceiling is there. And one of the storylines I'm watching super close today for sure is Sam Darnold the capable quarterback 1 in this offense? Because this might be the most quarterback friendly offense in the NFL, the Minnesota Vikings. If they can plug and play Sam Darnold, I think that confirms it. And I think there's a chance that does happen. But big boom bust potential here for Addison. And yeah, Jefferson's not concerning at all. Amari Cooper, DK, or Christian Kirk? Yeah, it's Kirk here. I think you got to go Christian Kirk against the Dolphins. I think a high floor compared to these guys. All 3 have a pretty high ceiling. Amari and DK probably have a slightly higher ceiling than Christian Kirk. Let's actually see this. Yeah, we got Metcalf a little bit high in the rank, lower in the ranks. We got Amari a little bit lower in the ranks. Yeah, it's Kirk, man. And you can see here, looking at this graph, like Christian Kirk, he does have the safest floor of the group, but he also has the lowest ceiling. Amari's got the highest ceiling by like a lot. But yeah, I think I lean Kirk. I still think there's a ceiling here with Kirk that makes that a reasonable decision, but not an easy start decision there by any means. Guys, if you're just tuning in, we've been live for over 2 hours, and we still got an hour to 2 to go. It's 11. Games kick off in 2 hours. We got an hour and a half left here of this live stream. We're just getting started. We're barely halfway through. It's a fantastic Sunday morning. Tons of news we're still following. Tyreek Hill got arrested. Does sound like he's going to play. God, he's down on the ground in this video getting handcuffed by police outside of Hard Rock Stadium. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. This is crazier than the Scotty Scheffler thing, in my opinion. Obviously, we've got to see, hear exactly what happened. But yes, Tyreek Hill was arrested. His agent says he is still expected to play today. And yes, he still ranks as wide receiver 1. Start Pickens or Najee at flex. Could you do wide receiver tiers? Yeah, I got you with the wide receiver tiers. A lot of wide receivers to consider today. I got the wide receiver rankings up on the YouTube live today too. Tyreek Hill at the top of this list, man. Morning, Sam. Zane, good morning. Honestly, to me, like we're in the afternoon. I know we're not actually afternoon yet. Ben, you should totally do that. Uh, change it to Scheffler's mugshot. Football is back though. And that's why I've been like, I'm 6 hours into my day. That's why it doesn't feel like morning anymore, but it is back. We are so back. I can't tell you how excited I am, man, that we're about to watch football for the next 7.5 hours in a couple of hours here. Addison or Lockett, Darnold or Levis in Superflex full PPR. Zane, these are the types of questions that get me so hyped because these are the deep league questions, man, that are really tough. We got Addison versus Lockett. Honestly, like kind of comparable options here, both boom bust options, in my opinion. I do think Jackson Smith-Njigba is a better receiver than Tyler Lockett. Is that going to play out in week one? That's another thing I'll be watching closely. Lockett gets the Broncos. Addison gets the Giants. Better matchup here for Addison. A bit of a sketchier offensive environment for Addison, though. It's just such a wide range of outcomes, I think, for Addison. Like Addison, he could get one catch today. He could also have 100 yards and a touchdown today. How is Sam Darnold going to do in his first start in this really quarterback-friendly Vikings offense? The other thing that's in Addison's favor here, like he's the clear number 2 receiving option in this offense. You know, maybe you could argue Aaron Jones, but really, like it's Addison going to be out there almost every single snap with Justin Jefferson. There's no TJ Hawkinson for at least the first month of the season, probably the first 2 months of the season. That's definitely good news for Jordan Addison. Again, better matchup for him too against the Giants. God, yeah, I think Lockett's a bit safer here, but Addison has a higher ceiling. Looking at this, like in this type of situation, since I think they're both boom bust options, I think I actually would just go Addison. He's projected a little bit lower, but the ceiling is higher for Addison. Yeah, we should totally add Scotty Scheffler's picture for Tyreek Hill in the app right now. Brian Thomas Jr. or Courtland Sutton. Yeah, I think this one's actually pretty close. So I had Courtland Sutton on my do not draft list this year. Here's why. Because we just saw the ceiling outcome for Courtland Sutton. I've had a lot of people come up to me and say in the comments, I've had literal people on the street, conversations I've had where they're like, I really like Courtland Sutton this year. He's the clear number 1. And I'm like, yeah, he is, but does that matter if he's not going to have more than 14 points per game? Last year, guys, Courtland Sutton, he had his ceiling outcome. He had a career high 10 touchdowns, and he still didn't even average more than 12 points per game. And look at this week 1 projection for him, man. We got him right under 12 points. He's a touchdown-dependent receiver that even when he scores touchdowns, like what's the real ceiling for Sutton, man? I just don't think there's like true league-winning ceiling for Sutton. In a week 1, he's safer than Brian Thomas Jr. for sure. But the ceiling, I think, is much higher for Brian Thomas Jr. I would go Brian Thomas Jr. over Sutton in week 1. That's part of the reason I have no Sutton on any of my teams. He was going right around the same spot in drafts as Brian Thomas Jr. was going. You know, when I'm drafting, I want guys that can win my fantasy league. Tyreek arrested. Everyone start him. Yeah, we're starting Tyreek anyway, guys. The news around Tyreek is absolutely insane. The Bengals and wide receiver Jamar Chase, this is 30 seconds ago from Schefter, are not expected to reach a contract extension before today's regular season opener per sources. It remains unclear if Chase will play today. Actives and inactives in 30 minutes. I mean, what a insane week 1 Sunday morning. We got Tyreek Hill getting cuffed. He's still going to play today. Literally cuffed outside Hard Rock Stadium. Unreal. Apparently from a driving violation. I'm very interested to hear more details about the specific driving violation Tyreek Hill is getting right outside his stadium. But on the other side of things, the more concerning thing from a fantasy perspective, Jamar Chase not getting a contract extension today. Jamar Chase, truly questionable today. I honestly, at this point, I'm putting it 50-50. It has felt like Adam Schefter has been on this, by the way, for like a little while now. When Adam Schefter leaks stuff like this, says stuff like this, you really got to be paying attention. It was a few weeks ago, maybe a little, like right around a week ago before CeeDee Lamb signed, he came out and said, actually, Jamar Chase is the most concerning situation, which wasn't really what the narrative was all offseason. And he was right. He clearly was right. He clearly knew something there. And now still no contract for Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is not going to play today. He's doubtful. Actives and inactives come out in 30 minutes. We'll know for sure. But you got to have contingency plans for Jamar Chase. Hey, Sam, Najee, Addison, or Sutton Flex. By the way, love the app. Yeah, thanks, man. I've spent the last 4 years of my life helping build the Walter Picks app. My blood, sweat, and tears are in this app. Every dollar I've ever made has gone towards building this app. So I appreciate that you liked it. If you guys haven't checked out the Walter Picks app yet, I do not know what you're waiting for. Link is in the TikTok bio. Link is in the YouTube description. All right, let's get to this question though. Najee, Addison, or Sutton? Yeah, so we just talked about a few of these guys. I actually think I would go Najee here. I do like Najee Harris today. I'm a little bit scared about Arthur Smith and using Cordero Patterson at the goal line. Like, I'm going to be so tilted. I'm going to be so tilted watching Cordero Patterson score a touchdown today, guys. Just know, if you see Cordero Patterson score a touchdown today, I will have my head in my hands just like that. So picture that when Cordero Patterson scores a touchdown. Even though I did take him in a few best ball leagues around 18. I got Najee starting in 2 of my 7 high-stakes leagues. I felt like the floor is pretty high for Najee. He projects the best out of these guys. I do like the touchdown ceiling for Najee. I like the floor for Najee, like a little bit of an unsexy pick. The ceiling is not really super exciting for him. But I do think that he could have a career year this year in a contract year. He looked a bit more explosive in the preseason. I think he's clearly back. 15-plus touches coming. I think Najee's a pretty good pick. Pretty good play today. Sam, football is back. Baby, yeah, it is back, and it is back with a vengeance, man. We are back. We are so back. Let me know in the comments what tier list you want to see next on the TikTok live. I'll pull the running backs here next. Accidentally left Bijan off of this. Obviously, he's tier 1. I'll put the running back ranks here on the YouTube live too. We're live on TikTok and YouTube right now, by the way. On the YouTube live, it's a better viewing experience because I can share my screen, all of the same rankings, all the same analysis, obviously, but a better viewing experience where I can pull comments up on screen and I can share my screen. Link to the YouTube live is right in the TikTok bio if you're watching live on TikTok. I do get to hundreds of comments in both lives. All right, Fields, Mayfield, or Purdy. Yeah, so I'm not starting Purdy today. Absolutely not. Purdy plays tomorrow, but I'm not starting Purdy this week. We got him as QB 26. Wow, in the Walter Picks app. He's the worst possible match we could have. I think the Jets probably have the best secondary, best defense in the NFL. Like, they definitely are in that conversation. Then you got Justin Fields, who I think is starting today. Russ was out there warming up. We're going to know that in about 30 minutes here too. The 2 biggest question marks right now heading into week 1. Is Jamar Chase going to play? I put him right at 50-50. Is Russell Wilson going to play? I think it's like 80% chance Russ doesn't play based on everything I've read, but still a chance he does play. If he doesn't play, which again, I don't think Russell Wilson's going to play. We're projecting him not to play in the app right now. Justin Fields ranks as QB 15. Justin Fields had the 2nd most rushing yards per game in the NFL last season at the quarterback position, only behind Lamar. Averaged over 50 rushing yards per game. That's very good for fantasy. All right, then we got Mayfield right here. So yeah, if Russ doesn't play, it's Fields. And if Russ does play, it's Baker. It's Baker over Purdy. Baker's got a great matchup today against the Commanders. And really, really talented receivers. All right, we got a tough situation here. Bijan. Yeah, Bijan's in tier 1, guys. I accidentally left Bijan out. He's in tier 1, obviously. Good guy to leave out because he's obviously in tier 1. None of the guys that already played are on this list, by the way. They're all not on this list because this is a list about the rankings for today and tomorrow. Football Sunday, in a pretty tough situation. What should I do with Burrow if Chase doesn't play? Also going forward, what should I do with Mark Andrews? Yeah, so I posted a video on the TikTok from our Patriots creator a couple days ago after that game. And yeah, you got to be a little bit concerned about Andrews. I wouldn't overreact. He's still a top 10 tight end easily. He still has to be started every single week. But that first game was definitely not good for him. The Chiefs have historically done a really good job taking Andrews out of the game. I still think Andrews is a top 7 tight end rest of season. But I don't think he's going to pay off his draft cost. He was really expensive in drafts. I think there's going to be tight ends drafted after him that outperform him. So yeah, generally, like, I'm a little nervous about him, but I'm not fully panicked about Mark Andrews. There's not much you can do at this point either. You're definitely not going to sell low on Andrews. I wouldn't panic sell. And then for Burrow, yeah, if Chase doesn't play, you gotta move Burrow down. You got to move Burrow down the ranks. The quarterbacks, let me put the quarterback tiers here. What about Taylor? Yeah, JT. JT is in tier 1. Let me pull the quarterback ranks here. I'll pull the quarterback ranks on the YouTube live. So if Joe Burrow doesn't play, if Jamar Chase doesn't play, I'm assuming Jamar Chase is playing, by the way, in all my ranks, all my projections right now. I do think Jamar Chase is more likely to play than not to play, but it's a true questionable thing that we're going to know in like 20 minutes. Anyways, right now, with Jamar Chase in, I would be starting Stafford over Burrow. I'd be starting Jaden Daniels over Burrow, Trevor Lawrence over Burrow, Deshaun over Burrow, Goff over Burrow. I'm starting all those guys over Burrow as it is because this is not a great week for Burrow. T. Higgins is already out. Even if Jamar Chase plays, he's not playing his full role. And then they're also playing the Pats. And the Pats are definitely going to be a run funnel team for defenses, for offenses this year, because they're not going to score enough points to force teams to pass. They're going to be one of the worst offenses, if not the worst offense in the NFL. They have a bottom 5 offensive line, and they're starting Jacoby Brissett at quarterback with no talented receivers. Hopefully Jalen Polk works out. But it's a bleak situation. That's why the Pats are by far the biggest underdogs heading into week 1. They're 7.5-point underdogs. It's going to be a Zach Moss, Chase Brown day, most likely for the Bengals. So already it's not great for Burrow. And then if Jamar Chase doesn't play and we don't see T. Higgins play, and like, is Jermaine Burton going to be a healthy scratch? Because there was a lot of stuff out there about that potentially happening. Jermaine Burton, like, clearly the third most talented receiver in my opinion. Maybe it's Andre Yoshivas. He's probably going to be the biggest benefactor. But yeah, I'd look to bench Joe Burrow for sure if Jamar Chase doesn't play. Malik Neighbors, Kirk Dell, Ford, pick a wide receiver and a flex. Yes, so guys, do not bench Malik Neighbors today. Don't bench Malik Neighbors today. Like I was telling you on Thursday night, don't bench Xavier Worthy tonight. And that worked out pretty well. He scored 2 touchdowns, only touched the ball 3 times. Have a look at this. Is the thing I had up from Thursday night. Trust Xavier Worthy tonight. We were in on Xavier Worthy on Thursday night. That definitely worked out super well. If you have Malik Neighbors, you need to start Malik Neighbors. You need to. He's playing the Vikings. He's going to get probably 10 touches. Can I see wide receiver rankings? Yep, I got you. Thanks for doing the TikTok live subscription, by the way. I will have live only sub comments up on live in like an hour or so. Make sure I get to all the TikTok live subscriber comments as always. Sam, what's the prop of the day? Yeah, Jake, we got 3 props of the day. I'll tell you which one is my favorite, but I like all 3 of these a lot. And we went 2-0 on Thursday night. We cashed 2-0 on Thursday night. Likely smashed. And Nelson Aguilar was running wind sprints. That was an easy 1.5 reception under. So here's the 3 props I like today. Tyler Boyd, over 24.5 receiving yards. I think this is extremely close to Tyler Boyd's floor. There's almost no way Tyler Boyd finishes today under 20 receiving yards. I'd be pretty shocked. He's going to be in an every down slot role for a Titans offense that's likely to throw a lot more this season, and DeAndre Hopkins is not at 100%. So he might actually be number 2 on the team in targets. I think Spears and Pollard, they'll get a bunch of targets too. But Boyd could cash this on the first drive. He could cash this on the last drive. This one's going to be live all game long. And it's extremely close to his floor. I like this Boyd prop a lot. But actually, my favorite player prop today, it's James Cook. Over 84.5 total yards today for James Cook. I think the Arizona Cardinals are one of, if not the worst defense in the entire NFL. This game also is the only Weatherman Sam game today. There's going to be wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour in this Bills-Cardinals game. I'm not overly concerned about that, but that definitely bodes well for James Cook specifically, who's going to get short targets and maybe more carries given the weather in that game today. I think James Cook can hit this multiple different ways. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets over 50 receiving yards. Won't be shocked if he gets over 100 rushing yards in this game. I'm not too scared about Ray Davis stealing too much work from him. If anything, Ray Davis is more of a threat in the red zone and the goal line. So yeah, I really like this James Cook one. It's my favorite one of these 3. And then last but not least, Deontay Johnson over 4.5 receptions. Deontay Johnson's in the Adam Thielen role this season. Got to think back to the first half of last year. Adam Thielen was a PPR beast in fantasy. He had the 9th most receptions in the NFL last season. Adam Thielen. That's the role Deontay's in today. Deontay could legitimately double up on this prop. And again, I think this is extremely close to Deontay Johnson's floor. I think his floor is 3 or 4 catches today, minimum, which makes this a fantastic prop that's probably going to be live in the first half. So yeah, that's my 3 best props today. Tyler Boyd over receiving yards, James Cook over total yards, and Deontay over receptions. We're trying to go 5-0 to start the season. That would be a great start. There's a video of one of the cops hitting Tyreek. Absolutely insanity. Insanity. By the way, we heard it first here in the YouTube live comments. The YouTube live comments, and I think we saw in the TikTok live comments too, we're literally reporting the Tyreek news before Adam Schefter. Crazy stuff, man. Love the comment section on these lives. Shout out to everybody in this live stream. Seriously, shout out to every single person in this live right now. Shout out to you. It is a fantastic day to have a day. We got the first Sunday slate of the year. Let me refresh the Twitter feed. We're going to get the actives and inactives in like 15 minutes or so now. We are starting Tyreek Scotty Hill today. Scotty Scheffler. My goodness. Hey, Sam, back for another year of Walter Picks. Let's go, Andrew. If you guys haven't checked out the Walter Picks app yet, by the way, it's the best way you could possibly support me. First of all, if you're watching live on YouTube, smash the like button. If you're watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. Helps me out way more than you could possibly realize. But the other thing you could do is check out the Walter Picks app. Refresh the app. Okay, yeah, let me refresh the app here. We'll get Scotty Scheffler up. All right, let's get to this question. Christian Kirk, Alvin Kamara, Calvin Ridley in a PPR league. Yeah, I think you got to go Kamara here. I think you got to go Kamara. Oh my God! And look, we got Scotty Scheffler. We got the photo in the app for Scotty Scheffler for Tyreek Hill. You'd love to see it. Very comparable situations. It sounds like wild stuff here before week 1. We got Tyreek and Jamar Chase in the headlines for very different reasons. All right, we got Kamara, we got Ridley, and then we got Kirk. This is a really tough start sit decision. So this is a really reasonable question. Thanks for the gifts in the TikTok live. Do appreciate that. All right, we got Kirk here as the final option. 3 good options. And wow, I thought it was Kamara. Did you say PPR? Yeah, this is PPR. Super close one. Super close one. Honestly, I still think I'd lean Kamara. I think he's the safest option here and has a comparable ceiling. Like when the running backs and receivers project this closely, like just think about it. The floor is almost always higher for the running backs because the carries are just locked in, right? Like you can get 10 targets with 0 catches. You can't get 10 carries and not touch the ball 10 times. So like for that reason, and there's usually a little bit higher of a touchdown ceiling for the running backs too, even though I do think Taysom's maybe the goal line back on this team. I do like Ridley a lot. Let's look at the ceiling a little bit closer here in this one. So Ridley's got a 14% chance to go over 25, a higher ceiling. Yeah, but look at the floor here. Kamara's floor is just by far the best. So yeah, I think you go Kamara. I think you go Kamara here. I don't really want to bench Kamara in week 1. Skipped me. Good morning, Sam. Sorry about that, Xavier. From beautiful California. Yeah, it's still morning in beautiful California. It's still morning technically. Technically, it's still morning here, but like it doesn't feel like it. Who do you like more, Shakir or Chase Brown? Thanks for everything you do, Sam. Let's see about the Jamar Chase news. I think that actually does matter there. I think I lean Chase Brown over Shakir for the floor. All right, 6-point passing TDs, 1 point for 20 yards. Tua or Kyler. As always, appreciate you, Doug. Yeah, I still think this has got to be Kyler. That definitely, like those scoring settings definitely push me a little bit more towards Tua, of course, with the passing touchdowns counting as much as the rushing touchdowns and then the yardage too. Tua led the NFL in passing yards last season. So he must have been a smash in this league. Definitely better. And he finished QB 16 in points per game in most leagues with the 4-point passing touchdowns and the 25 yards per point. The problem was the Dolphins were so efficient scoring rushing touchdowns last season. Is Chase playing? It's a 50-50 call right now for Chase playing. We're going to know in 13 minutes. We're going to know. Pull the running back tiers. Tua or Josh Allen? You're not benching Josh Allen. Good morning, Sam. Happy football Sunday. Joey, happy football Sunday to you too, man. It does not feel like morning to me. It technically still is. We're still happy, before afternoon. Sam, can I get an anytime TD lay for you? Yeah, honestly, I think that looking back at these props, I don't really love either of these 3 for the touchdown category. I mean, all 3 of these guys, especially these last 2, have kind of been allergic to touchdowns, honestly. I kind of like Achane. Honestly, if I'm going to pick anyone, I like Achane to score a touchdown today. I do think his role is going to be pretty elite. I have premier year 2 with it. Stafford or Fields? I have Burrow. Stafford. It's Stafford over Fields. It's Stafford over Burrow. Stafford's in a really good spot against the Lions. Could be a really high-scoring game tonight for sure. We got Scotty Scheffler in as Tyreek Hill today. Yeah, I do really like Stafford today. Bijan, I accidentally left Bijan off. That was my bad. He's clearly a tier 1 running back. Clearly a tier 1 running back. I've had him ahead of Brees all offseason. I think I would probably go David Montgomery over Brian Thomas Jr. The ceiling is definitely higher for Brian Thomas Jr. But in general, with some of these rookie receivers, if you have good options, specifically with Lad McConkey and Brian Thomas Jr., I'm okay benching these guys and to see what the real ceiling is for them week 1. I think they have league-winning ceiling throughout the season, but week 1 they definitely have a wide range of outcomes and a lot of risk. Still a decent amount of upside too, though. I'd go Najee over Stevenson in the flex. Stevenson was on my do not draft list. When is actives and inactives coming out? In 10 minutes. 10 minutes, we're going to know if Jamar Chase is playing or not. Unreal. Tyreek Hill arrested this morning. He's still going to play. And they got his agent on the TV screens just bashing the police. Bijan is in tier 1. I accidentally left him out. Sam, please help. We're back for another season. Let's go. Need a flex, PPR. Kirk, Brian Thomas Jr., Ford, Moss, JSN. Yeah, so it's Kirk or Ford. It's Kirk or Ford. It's probably Kirk over Ford. I think Ford was one of the best sleepers in fantasy this offseason, though, because he's just locked into the top running back role. He's going to catch passes on a team that I think could be near the top of the league in passing attempts. They were near the top of the league in the back half of the season last year after Nick Chubb was out. But yeah, this one's Christian Kirk. Especially, yeah, it's a PPR league. Got to go Kirk here. Got to go Kirk. I'm playing Kirk over DK too. That one's pretty close, but I would go Kirk over DK. I'd play Montgomery over Darnell Mooney. Chuba Hubbard versus Mostert. Kind of a gross decision there. I do have Chuba Hubbard over Mostert. Sam, huge fan of the Walter Picks app. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the Walter Picks app yet, I do not know what you are waiting for. I do not know what you're waiting for. You're actively giving yourself a worse chance to win your fantasy league and your props if you don't have the Walter Picks app. Appreciate that, Zach. Been a sub for 3 years now. It helped me win 3 leagues last year. That's what I'm talking about, man. So you won 3 leagues last year. Let's go back to back in all 3 of those leagues, man. That's what it's all about. There's no better feeling than winning your fantasy league other than going back to back. Just the pure dominance of going back to back in your fantasy league. Nothing beats it, man. Nothing beats it. Super hard to do. Kirk, Kupp, Marvin Harrison, Tank Dell need to bench one. Yeah, you're benching Tank or Kirk here. You're not benching Cooper Kupp or Marvin Harrison Jr. No chance. No shot. Bijan's for sure tier 1. Accidentally left him out. Saquon's not on here because he already played. This is the rest of the week tiers here. Let's do Kirk and Tank. I have such a tough time benching Tank Dell. Like I feel sick in my stomach seeing Tank Dell on my bench. I just don't want to do it. He's like one of the highest ceiling players in all of fantasy. But the floor is absolutely lower this season with Steph Diggs in town. Steph Diggs has always had an elite target share everywhere he's ever been. Christian Kirk, meanwhile, is locked in as the number 1 receiver on his own team. Pretty good game environment here against the Dolphins. I think you got to go Kirk. The ceiling absolutely is higher for Tank, but the floor is higher for Kirk. I also don't think the ceiling is like that bad for Kirk. Tony, thanks for the sub, man. We're going to get to the TikTok live subscriber-only comments coming up here in like an hour or so. Opinion on Mark Andrews and likely. Yeah, check out the last video posted to this account. I generally am in line with that opinion. I don't think Andrews is going to pay off his cost. Tyler, thanks for the sub, man. Appreciate it on the TikTok live. I don't think that he's going to pay off his cost, but I do think he's still a top 10 tight end in fantasy, like pretty easily. And likely he's looking like he's going to be a worthwhile pickup for tight end needy teams. See, I think I'd go Kirk over Tank, but if you want the higher ceiling, it's definitely Tank. You got to ask yourself, do you want to lock in at least 10 points or do you want to go for 25 plus and risk it? That's the Tank Dell decision today. And probably going to be the Tank Dell decision most weeks. Should I trade Kelsey or Pitts for a running back? Yes, Angelo. You should not have both these guys. Where's Derrick Henry? Derrick Henry already played, so he's not on this list. Where's Goddard? Already played, not on this list. How many points do you think Bowers is going to have? I think probably right around 10. Bowers is one of the most intriguing guys heading into this week for sure, because I do not think the general population of NFL fans quite understand what Brock Bowers is yet. And I don't know if people are really going to even understand it this season with the offensive situation he's in. But guys, what you need to understand with Brock Bowers is he's a extremely elite prospect, one of the best tight end prospects we've ever seen. He was up there in terms of receiving prospects, just as a pure receiver. Like he's up there with Malik Neighbors and he's up there with Marvin Harrison Jr. That's how good of a prospect he was. I think he was like honestly right in line with the Dunze in terms of like his receiving upside, which is insane for a tight end. He's incredible after the catch. But he's in a horrible situation. He's got Gardner Minshew throwing him the ball. He's competing with targets with Devontae Adams. He's not even the only good tight end on the team. Michael Mayer's there as well. He was an early pick last year. They're going to want to be a run-first team too. So there's a lot of reasons that Bowers might struggle for fantasy. But the talent is definitely there. Do I play Ayuk? No, I prefer to bench Ayuk this week. Doesn't sound like he's going to see his full role. We got the actives and inactives coming out here in 5 minutes. Just in, Russell Wilson will be out for today's game versus the Falcons due to his calf injury. Justin Fields will get the start. Justin Fields is the top 15 quarterback in fantasy. Let me go back to the QB tiers here. Let me pull up the QB rankings. Officially, Russell Wilson out, Justin Fields in for week 1. Man, what a change of events here for the Steelers. Massive for fantasy too. Like, I don't think Justin Fields should really be on any waiver wires out there. Guys, Justin Fields had the second most rushing yards per game in the NFL last season. Second most among quarterbacks, over 50 yards per game for Fields. Wow. And now he's starting week 1. There's a real chance if Fields plays well in this game, which obviously is not a guarantee, but if he does, he could easily hold on to this job the whole season and be a top 10 quarterback in fantasy and be maybe the best ball pick that there was. Wish I got more Fields, man, in these best ball drafts. Did not think it was a chance he was going to be starting week 1. Here he is starting week 1 due to the injury for Russ. 18.4 points per game for Russ last season. Sorry, for Fields last season. Let me pull the QB ranks here. Yeah, I got him up on the YouTube Live. Got him up. Let me pull him up on the TikTok Live. I was projecting. Here we go. I was projecting Fields in before the live started, so that we were right about that. I would start Justin Fields over Tua. I'd start him over Caleb Williams. I'd start him over Dak. I'd start him over Kirk Cousins. I'd start him over Justin Herbert, over Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith. I'd start him over Brock Purdy. I'm not starting Fields. If Jamar Chase doesn't play, which again, we're going to know like here momentarily. Breaking news, quarterback Dak Prescott, right before the game, agreed to a 4-year, $240 million contract extension. Makes Prescott the highest paid quarterback in NFL history. $40 million. He gets $39 million He gets $39 million more than any QB is scheduled to make over the next 5 years. And also got an $80 million signing bonus, the largest ever for Dak. Wow. So Justin Fields starting week 1. Dak gets the biggest quarterback contract in NFL history just in the past few minutes. We got tons of news breaking. I'd go Ford over Swift. So if Jamar Chase doesn't play, I'm playing Fields over Burrow too. If Jamar Chase does play, that gets a lot closer, a lot closer. Would you drop Zeke for Fields the rest of the season? Yup. I want nothing to do with Zeke. What are the chances that Zeke wins your fantasy league? I think close to 0. He's been dust the last 2 years. He's been dust. Look at these efficiencies for Zeke and tell me the path. Like the only path for Zeke to win your fantasy league is like somehow having this massive touchdown season. Guys, he was 3.5 yards per carry. That ranks 64th in the NFL last season. The year before that, 3.7 yards per carry. Again, outside the top 60. He's been completely inefficient for 2 straight years. He's now 29 years old. He's splitting a backfield. Like there's just no real path for Zeke to win fantasy leagues, I don't think. At least the offense is good. So like there's some story you could tell about the touchdowns. But yeah, I think Fields probably has a higher ceiling rest of the season. What's going on with Jamar? He wants a new contract. He hasn't gotten one. We're still waiting for the actives and inactives that are going to come out in 3 minutes. Dak just signed the biggest contract in NFL history. The Cowboys now have successfully signed Dak and CeeDee Lamb long-term. Crazy, this stuff happening right before games. Like, don't you think Dak should be focused on the game and not the contract? For my other league, Hubbard, Spears, or Jameson Williams, pick one. I think you're going to go Hubbard, but just want to make sure. Yeah, Hubbard and Spears is close. I do think Hubbard's probably going to get the ball more than Spears. I do think Spears will be more efficient with his touches than Hubbard. I personally like Spears more than Hubbard, like just generally, but yeah, I think Hubbard over Spears makes sense. Sam, my man, we are so back. Keenan, Palmer, Brian Thomas, or Pollard at the flex. Also Godwin or Pickens. Yeah, it's got to be Godwin over Pickens. Let's look at these other ones, though. I do think you got to go Keenan over Brian Thomas Jr. I think this one's between Keenan and Pollard, honestly. And it's probably, if this is PPR, yeah, it's Keenan. You go Keenan and go Godwin. Love the fantasy help, man. Got you. Moore or Godwin. Yeah, it's Godwin over DJ Moore today. Tua or Fields. I got Fields over Tua. Fields averaged 50 rushing yards per game last season. All right, here we go. Miami Dolphins tweeting. Tyreek Hill was pulled over for a traffic incident about 1 block from the stadium and briefly detained by police. He has since been released. Several teammates saw the incident and stopped to offer support. Tyreek and all other players involved have safely arrived at the stadium to begin today's game. Tyreek Hill is playing. We're like a couple minutes out now from getting the injury reports, and we'll know for sure about Jamar Chase. Let me pull the running back ranks up. Only thing to point out with the running back ranks, I accidentally left Bijan out. He's definitely tier 1. Bijan, obviously tier 1. Chase is playing. We're getting this report live in the YouTube comments. The YouTube comments have been on it today. By the way, if you're watching live on TikTok, we're also live on YouTube. It's a better viewing experience. One, because the YouTube comments just break news before it even breaks. Like we knew Tyreek Hill situation minutes before it was reported from Adam Schefter. Dak or Goff, I have CD. Yeah, I still would go Goff over Dak. I would go Gibbs over Mostert easily. That's an easy one. That's a layup. Got to make your layups, guys. Jamar Chase is active and will give it a go today versus the Patriots, despite not having a contract. Jamar Chase is playing. My lean here was right from the get-go. I do think that you need to start Jamar Chase. He's not going to be at his full role. He's not going to be at his full workload. But even at 70% of that full workload, Jamar Chase is a must start in basically all leagues, basically all of them. So Chase is playing. That definitely makes Burrow a better option. Dak just got paid. Yep. Jamar Chase did not, but he is still playing. I put him firmly in tier 3 here. I do think playing Ridley over Jamar, like that's actually a pretty close one. Bobby, no need to spam in the chat, but I got you. Hey, Sam, great to be back, but need you here. Should I play Jamar today or is that risky? Yeah, you should. He's playing. It's risky. You got to start him. You got to start your round 1 pick if he's playing. Even if he plays 70%, even at 50% of his role, Jamar Chase is better than probably most options that you have. We got him ranked as wide receiver 22 this week. He averaged 16.4 points per game last season. He still could easily score multiple touchdowns in this game. He had a 52-point game last season. You kind of have to start him. You're kind of forced to start Jamar Chase. It's a bit risky, but you got to do it. Tua, Fields, or Deshaun? Yeah, I'm going Deshaun over Fields and Tua. I do like Jackson Smith and Jigba this season. I'd prefer to see what his role looks like week 1. I think I'd probably go Chase Brown over him. Mason, I got you. Ayuk or Keenan? Yeah, I'm benching Ayuk this week. Sam, Stafford or Burrow? I'm going Stafford over Burrow, even with Chase playing. Fields is starting. Jamar Chase is active. Still waiting for all the active inactives to officially come out, though. Still very curious if Jermaine Burton's going to be inactive. Yep, Tyreek got arrested, but he's playing. Wide receiver 1 this week. Kupp or Harrison? Yeah, I'm going Kupp over Harrison. I want both. You should be able to start both, though. Yeah, I got Tank in here in tier 4. Boom bust guy. Rookie running back Jalen Wright, a healthy scratch. Jeff Wilson, RB3 behind Mostert and Achane. That's definitely interesting. We got the actives and inactives coming out right now. DeAndre Hopkins is active. Keenan Allen is active. Interesting to see Jalen Wright, a healthy scratch in week 1. I'd go Javonte over Spears. Yep, Chase is active. YouTube chat has been on it today. Herbert or Fields in Superflex? Yeah, I go Fields over Herbert. No, it hasn't changed. I would still go Hubbard over Spears. Why no Ayuk? Because Ayuk is not expected to see his full role. He's not expected to see his full role this week because he didn't practice that much because of the contract holdout. And he gets the Jets, maybe the best secondary in the NFL. So there's multiple things working against Ayuk this week. Guys, if you're just tuning in, we've been live for over 2.5 hours. We're just getting started still. Still a solid hour left to go on this live, man. This has been a fantastic live so far. Make sure you smash the like button if you haven't yet on the YouTube live. Oh, yeah, sorry, Kyle. I would go both these guys. Yep. On the TikTok live, guys, hit the follow button. But also, Maggie, thanks for the follow on the TikTok live. Appreciate that. Also, if you want a little bit better of a viewing experience, come to the YouTube live. Link to that's right in the TikTok bio. I can share my screen on the YouTube live. I can pull up comments on screen and share my screen. Yoshivas or Coleman? Honestly, I think I'd go Yoshivas. Andre Yoshivas, the number 2 receiver today for the Bengals. Let's refresh these these actives, inactives. Cam Akers is inactive. Healthy scratch. That's pretty interesting. Thought there was a chance he beat out Dameon Pierce for that running back 2 role. That's not happening. Also pretty surprised to see John Mechie is a healthy scratch today. Thought he had a pretty good shot at the wide receiver 4 role there. I guess that's Xavier Hutchinson now. Roshan Johnson is inactive for week 1. Hate to see that. Technically healthy scratch. He was dealing with a toe thing, but took him at round 18 of a bunch of best ball drafts. That's not great. Seems like Velus Jones maybe beat him out as running back 3. And, he contributes on special teams too. Roshan, inactive, not really relevant otherwise. T. Higgins officially inactive today. Will not play. Why not that high on Monty? I do think Monty's like a touchdown-dependent running back who probably will score a touchdown, but if he doesn't, he's going under 15 points, almost definitely. Where's DK in your rankings? Yeah, he's right at the end of tier 4 here, DK. After Ayuk. I honestly think I would go DK over Ayuk, though, given the reports about Ayuk so far. Tyreek Hill got detained, but yeah, Tyreek Hill is still playing today. Deshaun over Dak. Yep, I got Deshaun over Dak. They're playing each other. Like it's definitely a risky take from me to have Deshaun over Dak. Deshaun has more rushing upside than Dak, though. And I also think the Browns defense is better than the Cowboys defense. So yeah, I would personally go Deshaun over Dak. Monty or Najee, I'd go Najee over Monty. Let me switch up the rankings here. Let me put the running back rankings here on the YouTube Live. Where's McLaurin? Yeah, McLaurin's really high up here. He's right in tier 3. I would start Chase over McLaurin, I think, still. But yeah, McLaurin's in a really good spot against the Bucs. He's the clear top receiver for the team. So yeah, Deshaun is a slightly lower ceiling, this is showing, but higher floor. And the reason he's got a higher floor is the rushing. We compare these rushing stats. It's a little misleading because he didn't play in every game. Deshaun did have at least 17 points in 4 of his 5 games last season, despite playing terribly from a real football perspective. Healthiest Deshaun has been to start a season since 2020. Waddle or Chase? I think you go Waddle here. Yeah, I would go Waddle over Chase. Hey, Sam, appreciate all you've done with Walter Picks. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the Walter Picks app yet, you got to check it out. Download the app. It is free. And the premium subscriptions are well worth it as well. If you're really serious about winning your fantasy league, if you're trying to win more player props this season, download the Walter Picks app. Link is in the TikTok bio. Link is in the YouTube description. AJ Brown, none of the players that already played are on this list, guys. This is the list for today's tiers, the rest of the week's tiers. So you're not going to see any of these guys that already played on this list. All right, Caleb Williams with more stack, or Trevor Lawrence, Jamar Chase, or more, or in the flex, Yes, you got to play Jamar Chase over Ramondre Stevenson and Chase Brown. You have to. There's just no choice here, Jeff. You got to do it. So you're starting DJ Moore. You're starting Jamar Chase, both these guys. And then I would personally go Trevor Lawrence over Caleb Williams in week 1. That's how I would play it. I think they're honestly comparable options this week, and Lawrence just has a safer floor because he's not a rookie in his first game. So yeah, I personally would go Trevor Lawrence. And I would still start DJ Moore and Jamar Chase. I think you got to have to start Chase unless you have an option like Waddle. Here's the receivers I would start over Jamar Chase. Tyreek Hill, detained but still playing, still wide receiver 1. Tyreek, a.k.a. Scotty Scheffler. I don't think Scheffler went on to win this tournament, but he did have a good first day, I think, after this. I think he popped off. Correct me if I'm wrong, and he did win the tournament. I'm not a huge golf guy. I'm obviously starting Lamb, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson, Cooper Kupp, Jefferson, Puka, all over Jamar Chase. I'm starting Neighbors over Jamar Chase pretty easily. I'm starting Drake London, Marvin Harrison Jr., Waddle, Mike Evans, and Olave. I'm starting all of those guys over Jamar Chase. I would start Pittman, Ridley, and Nico over Jamar Chase as well. That's it, though. I'm starting Chase over McLaurin, over Adams, over Godwin, over Diggs, over DJ Moore, over Kirk, over Debo, Tank, Ayuk. I still think you got to start Jamar Chase in like almost all spots. Not this one. I would start Waddle over Chase. But in almost all spots, you got to do it. Jerome Ford or Keenan Allen, or that's Keenan Allen over Jerome Ford. This one's super tough for me, Adam. Ayuk versus Brian Thomas Jr. I think it's Ayuk. He's got a tough matchup and not going to be in his full role, which is why it's pretty close. Good morning, Sam. Happy good morning to you as well. Mixon and Achane and Christian Kirk pick 2. It's the first 2 here. I think I'd go Mixon and Achane over Kirk. I do like Kirk today, but I think the floor and ceiling for Mixon and Achane are both so strong, so strong. Let's get the official actives and inactives in here now. Bengals inactives. Jermaine Burton is active. So that report earlier this week was not right. He is going to play. See how much playing time he gets. To me, all offseason, Jermaine Burton, there's been a lot of negative stuff. Rookie wide receiver for the Bengals. He fell farther in the NFL draft because of character concerns, which sort of have seemed to seemingly be true. Reports that he doesn't know the playbook. Reports that he's showing up late to meetings, sleeping in, missing meetings. Jermaine Burton is forced to be active today because T. Higgins is out and Jamar Chase is not at full strength. I still think you got to start Jamar in most spots. But to me, Jermaine Burton was the most obvious, clear backup to Higgins and Chase. He's that type of guy that can step in and be as explosive as these options. Whereas Andre Yoshivash, he's more of a slot guy, more of a replacement for Tyler Boyd, in my opinion. Very interested to see Jermaine Burton's role here in week 1 with T. Higgins out. I drafted a lot of him in best ball, so glad to see that he's at least active. Let's see if there's any other active, inactive news to report before getting back to some of these start sits. Vikings, no one really of note that is inactive. Tyreek Hill is officially active. A.T. Perry, Spencer Rattler inactive. Not much to note there. Jalen Wright is inactive for the Dolphins. It's a bit of a surprise, but I guess they have some faith in Jeff Wilson as the RB3. I think it's going to be a lot of Mostert and Achane, though. RB list. Yeah, I got you with the running back list. Bijan should be on this list, by the way, in tier 1. Accidentally left him out. Chase is active. Yep, Chase is active. Hey, Sam, full PPR start Ayuk. I have Keenan, McConkey, BTJ on the bench. I'd start Keenan over Ayuk. Ayuk gets maybe the number 1 secondary in the NFL. And he's not going to be at his full workload. Gerson, no, you're 100% right. There's no reason to spam. No reason to spam. Would you pick Najee, Chase Brown, or Chuba? Pick one PPR. Yes, and personally, I think I'd go Najee here. I'm like a little bit more nervous about him with Fields starting versus Russ. I don't think that's like the best for Najee. It might boost his efficiency, but could also steal a touchdown. Hubbard's role is like a little bit more clear, but yeah, I think the ceiling for Najee, the floor for Najee is maybe just a bit better. I'd go Najee. Godwin or Yoshivash? Got to be Godwin. Got to be Godwin over Yoshivash. James Conner, Keenan, or Godwin? Yeah, it's Godwin. If this is PPR, it's Godwin. If it's not PPR, it's James Conner. Need your help. Burrow, Watson, or Fields? Yeah, so I got Watson ahead of all these guys. Again, I like Deshaun Watson. Let me pull my DraftKings lineup again. This is the healthiest Deshaun Watson has ever been in week 1 since 2020. And back in 2020, Deshaun Watson averaged over 23 fantasy points per game. Last season, Deshaun Watson was terrible. He was battling through injuries. He was awful from a statistical standpoint. Real NFL perspective, he was terrible. Still in fantasy football, though, he went over 17 points in 4 of his 5 games. Like, that's the floor for Deshaun, guys, today. It's 17 points, I think. Unless there's a completely epic collapse against the Cowboys defense, that's better than I think. But it's the rushing. The rushing, and I think the passing volume, too, is potentially going to be really high for Deshaun in a Browns offense without Nick Chubb. So, yeah, I honestly personally would go with Deshaun Watson there. Connor or Chase? That one's pretty close, actually. Let's see. No need to spam, by the way. No need to spam. I'm going to get to the hundreds of comments. If I don't get your comment, by the way, the best possible place to go for start sit advice, guys, it's the Walter Picks app. It's free. You can do infinite start sit comparisons for free in the Walter Picks app. And if you're really serious about winning your fantasy league and making the right start sits, you can pay for the premium subscription for even better insights and to sync your league, too. Check that out in the TikTok bio, in the YouTube description. Best way you could possibly support me is download the app and use code SAM. Barkley's not in here because no players that already played are in this list. This is the rest of week list. Bijan's not in here because I messed up. Bijan should be in tier 1, obviously. He's a good guy to miss, though, because he's just obviously locked in, tier 1 start. Yeah, I got you with the wide receiver ratings for sure. Let me pull up the DraftKings lineup again, too. My DK lineup has Deshaun in it. This is a tournament lineup. I do not think this is going to be a very common lineup here. I don't think very many people are going to do the Deshaun, Judy, Jerome Ford stack. I think probably sub 5% of the field, maybe sub 1% of the field is going to have this Deshaun, Judy, Ford stack. So we're getting super unique here, which is good for tournaments. We're running it back with Jalen Tolbert, super cheaply priced, almost min-priced Jalen Tolbert. Jalen Tolbert almost has to have a role in this offense for the Cowboys this season. Almost has to. Brandon Cooks has already been battling injuries. He should be the wide receiver 2. I actually think Jake Ferguson's like the real wide receiver 2. But if this Cowboys offense wants to take any steps forward this season, it's got to be from Jalen Tolbert, I think. So I like him at min price with a bring back against the Browns here. And then I got Achane stacked against Evan Ingram, like those two a lot this week. I think Achane and Jefferson both could be the number one players in their positions this week. Like getting Jefferson in there. I'm not benching Malik Neighbors. He's a top 12 option for me this week against the Vikings. Like that a lot too. And then we got the Seahawks defense to wrap it up. Show wide receiver rankings. Yeah, I got you with the wide receiver rankings. I got you with the wide receiver rankings in the YouTube live too. Coming up here in a second. Oh, they're already up. Let me know in the comments which position you want to see next. Full PPR, Montgomery versus Mondre Stevenson. Yeah, I don't think I've told anyone to start with Mondre this week, but you might be the first. Yeah, in the PPR league, I think Mondre over Monty makes sense because Mondre is almost definitely going to have more catches than Monty. Colton, man, good to see you back in the YouTube live. Start one, Rome, Hopkins, Mostert. Yeah, I think this has to be Rome or Mostert here. I don't feel great about Hopkins in his first game based on all the reports that he's not at full health. He's looking like a guy, honestly, I wish I drafted less of in best ball. This one's Rome. If this is a PPR league, it's got to be Rome. It's half PPR, then I think it's probably Mostert. Kirk or Swift? Yeah, I'd go Kirk over Swift. I personally would go Palmer over McConkey today. Olave versus Harrison Jr., that one's super close. I think I'd go Marvin Harrison Jr. over Olave, though. Any Weatherman Sam news? Yeah, we do got some Weatherman Sam news. We do. And we got a Weatherman Sam hat this year, too, to go with it. Let me pull up the Weatherman Sam news. And also, let me just actually refresh this Weatherman Sam news just in case anything has changed. No, nothing has changed. So here's the Weatherman Sam news. There's one Weatherman Sam comment to be aware of today. Unfortunately, it's in one of the most exciting games, but it's not something I'm overly concerned about. There's possible 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts in this Bills versus Cardinals game. The game I would have said heading into this week, probably the highest scoring game of the week. With the wind, I'm a little less sure about that. There's also a few other games that could be incredibly high scoring today. Part of the reason I think this game could have been really, really high scoring and still might be is I think the Cardinals defense might be the worst defense in the NFL. I do not think this defense is good. And I also think this offense took a big step forward this offseason with Kyler getting healthier, adding Marvin Harrison Jr., adding Trey Benson too. I mean, James Conner is still going to be the lead back there, but I think this offense clearly got better. Reason to expect it to be better. I also think this Bills defense is a little suspect. They're starting DeMar Hamlin. Shout out to him for earning a starting spot, but he's not the best safety to be starting. They already have a linebacker injured too, which might not be great for trying to stop Trey McBride in this game. I'm not overly concerned because this is wind gusts up to 25 miles an hour was the report, which means that the sustained wind is closer to the 10 to 20 mile an hour range, 15 to 20 mile an hour range. The concerning thing when it comes to weather, the most concerning thing, as a reminder for all the new people here, the most concerning weather thing in the NFL is wind over 25 miles an hour. So this one's getting right up and close to that concerning threshold, but not over it. So again, I'm not overly concerned, not going to overreact here. And I actually still like the James Cook prop almost even more because of this. The 3 free player props today, Tyler Boyd, over 24.5 receiving yards. James Cook is my favorite one, over 84.5 total yards today for James Cook. Again, do not think this Cardinals defense is good. And I think this wind might actually push more volume towards James Cook, the short targets and the run game. The Bills were extremely run heavy in the back half of last season. No Steph Diggs this week, this season. You got to expect a little bit more of that this season too from the Bills. And obviously Josh Allen was a piece of that too. And then Deontay Johnson over 4.5 receptions. I think all three of these lines, Tyler Boyd receiving, James Cook total yards, and Deontay Johnson receptions, all of these are really close to the floor for each of these guys. Like if they miss this, they're going to miss this by just a very small amount. I like taking props near players' floor when it comes to the overs. And I like taking the unders near players' ceilings, like we did with Nelson Aguilar on Thursday night, under 1.5 receptions. He was one of the two we hit, as well as the Isaiah Likely over. Will you ever add IDP support and IDP rankings to the Walter Picks app? Honestly, I'm not sure. To be totally honest with you, I am not sure. It's probably not. It's definitely not going to happen this season. It's such a big undertaking. IDP is twice the amount of work, right, as usual. There's so many defensive players. But I won't say never. I definitely won't say never. I'm just not sure. It's not going to be this season. It's possible that we do in the future. We have had a lot of people ask for this, the IDP stuff. So keep asking for it. If it's something you want, definitely keep asking for it. And it's something more likely we'll do if a lot of people are asking for it. Hey, is Pittman and Cup busts in PPR also should I start Purdy or waiver Justin Fields? Yeah, definitely Fields over Purdy. It's got to be Fields over Purdy. Pull up the QB ranks here again. Fields is starting for the Steelers. Fields had the second most rushing yards per game among quarterbacks last season. Appreciate the follow, Matt. Appreciate the follow, Matt, in the TikTok live. If you guys haven't yet, you got to hit the follow button if you're watching live on TikTok. If you're watching live on YouTube, you got to hit the like and subscribe button. But no, I don't think either of these guys are busts. I don't think Kupp's a bust. More likely for Pittman to be a bust, but I don't think he's going to be a bust either. I don't have a sub for CMC. Do I start Raheem Mostert? Oh, well, also Deontay or Brian Thomas, full PPR. I think you gotta have faith that CMC plays. I think you got to go with CMC. And Jordan Mason's the guy you really want. Is Jamar Chase risky? Yep, he's risky, but you still kind of have to start him in most spots. I think we got to start him in most spots still. Hope you have a good Sunday. YouTube, man. Connor or Chase full PPR? Yeah, here I think I'm fine going James Conner. I think I'd be fine going James Conner here. If you have a really good option over Jamar Chase, I'm fine with that. Why Lawrence over Tua? I think the touchdown ceiling is a bit higher for Lawrence than Tua. Tua led the NFL in passing yards last season, and he still finished QB 16 in points per game because he didn't score enough touchdowns because they're so efficient scoring touchdowns on the ground. HN or London at flex. Man, you've got to start both these players. You've got to start HN. You've got to start London. But I'm not benching HN. You won't find me benching HN in a single league. Appreciate you too, Kylo. Deontay Johnson or Brian Thomas, full PPR. Yeah, I go Deontay Johnson over Brian Thomas. I go Brian Thomas over Keon Coleman, seeing that one in the TikTok live. Let's go back to the wide receiver tiers here. Tight end rankings, actually, I saw a comment over that. I got you. I think the tight end tiers are super clear. Super clear. Thoughts on Keon Coleman? Yeah, so I think Keon Coleman might lead the Bills in receiving touchdowns this season. But I'm not sure he's going to be a consistent guy for fantasy. I'm not sure he's going to be a consistent targeter. Definitely very interested to see his role in week 1 here. Pull the running back rankings here on the YouTube live. I'd probably go with Monty over Brian Thomas Jr. Close one, though. Definitely a floor ceiling decision there. I think Monty's got a better floor. Brian Thomas Jr.'s got a better ceiling. I'm not benching McBride. The only player I'd bench McBride for is Laporta. I think McBride has a huge game. I played Deshaun over Fields. Yeah, this is definitely something that we can add to the app in the future. Also, if you are a subscriber to the app, the Walter Picks app, you got to join our Discord. Link to that is in the YouTube description. This is the type of thing too. Like you can just chat with me and the whole Walter Picks team and everyone behind the Walter Picks projections in the app. You can chat directly with us in the Discord. If you're a premium subscriber in the Walter Picks app, this is the type of stuff we can just talk you through because these are usually pretty straightforward decisions. If you just going back and forth talking about them. London or Evans? Yeah, it's London. It's got to be London over Evans. Playing CMC over everybody, guys. You got to start CMC. Have some faith that he's going to play. He is questionable, but I do think he's going to play. Kendrick Lamar announced he will perform at the halftime of the Super Bowl this season. Patriots inactive. Rookie receiver Javon Baker is inactive. That's interesting. Pretty insane last hour for NFL news. Russell Wilson is out. Justin Fields is in. Jamar Chase is going to play today, even without the contract that he wants. Nikki, thanks for the subscription, man. I appreciate it. Going to turn TikTok live subscriber only chat mode on in like 7 minutes or so. Show running backs. Yeah, I got you with the running backs. Where TF Ingram? Yeah, he's Evan here. I meant to put Ingram here, but he's Evan. He's right before Pitts. He's a tier 1 guy. Kendrick Lamar playing at the Super Bowl. That's pretty hype. Tyreek Hill arrested, but still playing. Still ranks as wide receiver 1. Probably going to go absolutely off. Got the Scotty Scheffler photo in for him right now. All right, let me know. We're going to go rapid fire here in the YouTube comments. Do some of these. Burrow, Lawrence, or Fields. All right, let's do this comparison live on the YouTube live. Burrow, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. I would play Tua. I think I would go Burrow over Tua, actually. These are all extremely close, but yeah, Trevor Lawrence gets a slight edge here. I think I would go T-Law over Burrow. I think I would go T-Law over Fields. I have Tua as my backup to Lamar. Do you suggest picking up Fields and drop Tua? I don't think that's that crazy. Fields averages the second most rushing yards per game. My favorite spread pick today, I think, is the Cardinals plus 6.5. 6.5 just feels like way too much for a game that the Cardinals could win. I do think the Bills offense will perform well. Actually, my favorite plays today are actually props. Here's three free player props. We're 2-0 on these. I generally don't take spreads myself. I do take props a lot. And I like Boyd. I like James Cook. I like Deontay Johnson. Receiving yards, total yards, receptions, respectively. My favorite one, though, is actually the James Cook line. None of the guys that already played are on this list. And Bijan's not on this list because I just made a mistake. And he's clearly tier 1. Kittle or Pitts? God, I think it's Pitts over Kittle. Happy first Sunday to you as well. McLaurin or Kenneth Walker? Yeah, you cannot bench Kenneth Walker today. I like Terry McLaurin, but do not bench Kenneth Walker. Definitely Anthony Richardson over Joe Burrow. A-Rich is a top 2 option that's left. Hurts and Mahomes already played. It's Josh Allen and it's A-Rich today. And A-Rich is way too cheap on DraftKings too. I think I probably would go Ayuk over Palmer still, despite my concerns about Ayuk against the Jets and having a reduced role in week 1. I think I would go McLaurin over Ayuk though. Goff or Dak? Yeah, I'm going Goff over Dak. Bijan, I accidentally left Bijan out. He's clearly tier 1. Show start sits. Yeah, I got you with the start sits. Mostert or McConkey. I prefer to bench McConkey if I can. McConkey probably projects better than Mostert in a PPR league, though. But the floor has got to be better for Mostert. Yeah, I'd go Mostert. Put up QB rankings. I got you, Corey. I got Fields at QB 15. So I got Fields at QB 11 here. These are the quarterbacks left. I'm not benching Neighbors. Play Neighbors over Debo. Start Jamar. Yep, I do think you got to start Jamar if he's playing. Palmer or JMO. I think I go Palmer. Kenneth is Kenneth Walker. Yep. Start Kenneth Walker. Got to start Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is a top 12 running back option this week. They've been saying all offseason he's going to get more receiving work. Got Michael here in the YouTube live. Mark Cooper, Keenan Allen, and Jerome Ford at flex. Already starting DJ Moore. Let's do this comparison too. This is a close one for sure. I do like Amari's ceiling. I don't hate starting Keenan and DJ Moore. Like at least one of these guys is going to have a good week for sure. And then Jerome Ford. Yeah, I would just go Keenan. Go Keenan and DJ. Not the worst move. High floor and high ceiling move. Zach Moss or Shakir. I'd go Zach Moss against the Pats. Really good game script here for Zach Moss. They're the biggest favorites of the week. 7.5-point favorites, the Bengals. I think I would go JSN over Brian Thomas, but it's really, really close. Let's see here. I think the app is going to project JSN behind Brian Thomas, and yeah, that is the case. The floor is definitely, to me, a bit safer with JSN. He gets the Broncos, though. Brian Thomas gets the Dolphins. I think you got to go Brian Thomas here. The best time of year is here. It is the best day of the week. It is one of the best days of the year. I'm playing Jaden Daniels over Burrow for sure. Just given everything going on with the Bengals. Jamar Chase is playing. He is playing. But he's not going to be playing his full role. We got a disgruntled Jamar Chase in week 1 here. Ford or Dell? Yeah, you got to go Tank Dell over Ford. Half PPR makes me lean a little bit more towards Ford, but the ceiling is so high for Tank that I think you got to go Tank over Ford. Tua or Murray? Yeah, you're not benching Murray. I got the QB ranks up on the TikTok live right now. These are counting for the Justin Fields news. Thanks for the rose, D-back. Appreciate it. Ridley or Godwin, both really good options this week. I lean Ridley over Godwin though, personally. Love the app. Thanks, man. Yeah, guys, we haven't checked out the Walter Picks app yet. Now, if I don't get to top gifter, thanks, man. I appreciate it in the TikTok live. If I don't get to your start sit comment, the best place you can go is the Walter Picks app. Spears or Chase Brown, full PPR. Really close one here too. It's about as good of a game script as you could expect for Chase Brown and Zach Moss today. I have my concerns about Chase Brown just because I do think Zach Moss is like the clear goal line back for the Bengals. Chase Brown probably the better receiving back of the two, though. Spears gets the Bears. Brown gets the Pats. Look at this. Extremely similar projections here. Slightly higher ceiling for Spears. I think you got to go Chase Brown over Spears. Going on 5 years, I believe, with you, Sam. Appreciate you, Ricky, man. If you've been 5, you're a true OG. A true OG. Thank you, Ricky. I appreciate all the support, man. Can't believe how many years I've been doing this now. Hi, Sam. Walter picks OG. Defense, Miami, Vikings, Seattle, also Stroud or Tua. Yes, you're looking at good defenses there. I actually think the Vikings are my number one defense this week. They are, yeah. Seattle's number 2. So yeah, I would go Vikings. And then you got to start Stroud over Tua. Jamar Chase or McLaurin. I go McLaurin over Chase, I think. Got it. I think that's like right out the line. Ayuk or Godwin, I'd go Godwin over Ayuk. Let me pull the wide receiver tiers here. I got McLaurin one spot behind Chase. Chase is such a tough call with a situation like that. I do think in most spots you're going to want to start Chase, even at a reduced role. We get in the app, we got McLaurin over Chase. I think you go McLaurin over Chase, though. That's like right at the line for me with Jamar Chase. All right, we're going to turn subscriber-only comment mode now on in the TikTok Live. As promised, always going to get to all the TikTok Live subscriber comments. Stick around, though. Even if you're not a TikTok Live subscriber, you'll hear me get to so many start sits here in the next 30 minutes. Guys, we are an hour away from kickoff. Let's go, man. I'm getting excited. An hour away from football for the next 7 hours. Cannot wait. I cannot wait. Happy Sunday. Tank Dell or James Conner? Scoring mode definitely matters here. PPR, half PPR, non-PPR. It's part of the reason you got to download the Walter Picks app as well, because it's going to account for your scoring settings. But yeah, if this is a PPR league, it might be Tank. If it's a half PPR league, it's got to be James Conner. James Conner definitely projects really well in a good game environment today against the Bills, a game that is going to have 25-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It could push more rushing too. No question, Sam. Good to see you helping everyone this fall again. Best of luck this season. Thanks, Nikhil. Appreciate you doing the TikTok Live subscriber. If you want to get your TikTok Live comment answered 100% of the time, make sure you do the TikTok Live subscription. I think it's literally only $5. We got this projection up here. In a PPR league, it's James Conner. So yeah, you got to go James Conner over Tank. I can't stand having Tank Dell on my bench personally. There's one league where I just had to do it because I had to start Rashee Rice over Tank. And I do think that was a pretty good call. How do you feel about Josh Jacobs rest of the season? I still feel okay about him. Honestly, the only thing that has me concerned is the Jordan Love injury, which is not going to be good for the whole offense. But I think you kind of have to like what you saw from Josh Jacobs. You know, he started kind of slow, but still had some explosive plays, was active in the receiving game. Emmanuel Wilson did kind of look better than him for a big portion of that game, but yeah, I still think Josh Jacobs is like a high floor RB2. I'm not sure the true league winning ceiling he's going to have if Jordan Love misses extended periods of time, but it sounds like Jordan Love's going to be back for at least the back half of the season. So yeah, still in on Josh Jacobs rest of season. Charbonnet or McLaughlin, Gardner or Cousins, 2 QB league with Josh Allen. Yeah, I think I'd go McLaughlin over Charbonnet, Zach Charbonnet. And then Gardner, Minshew versus Cousins. It's got to be Cousins over Gardner Minshew. Got to be Cousins over Gardner Minshew. All right, let's switch this up. I'll show the running back tiers here. Accidentally left Bijan Robinson off these running back rankings. That was obviously a mistake. He is a top 3 running back. I have CD in my league, and in the draft, I had a choice between either Kyler Murray or Dak, and I drafted Kyler. Was that bad? No, Kyler's definitely a better option than Dak in fantasy. For sure. If you want your comment answered in the TikTok Live, I got you. Do the TikTok Live subscription or come to the YouTube Live. Still pulling up comments on the YouTube Live too. Link to that's in the TikTok bio. Swift or Javonte PPR. Let's do that comparison. That's pretty close. I think it's Javonte. Wow, back-to-back here in the rankings. Super tight one. Let's look at the matchups here again. Oh, God, the Seahawks were not good against running backs last season. Not the exact same defense, though, as last year. I do think both these guys should catch some passes. Both, like, pretty comparable options, honestly. I think you got to go Javonte, though. I would go Javonte over Swift. I traded JT and Reed for Barkley. Am I crazy? Not that crazy. With the Jordan Love injury, it's really not that crazy. I mean, Saquon looked great. Thanks for the follow. Appreciate that. Walter says to start Keenan over Mostert PPR. Do you agree? Yeah, Nikhil, I definitely agree. I think PPR, that makes a lot of sense. Mostert is like very similar to Montgomery. A little bit more pass catching upside for Mostert in that offense, but very similar to David Montgomery. They're touchdown dependent running backs on offenses where they're pretty likely to score touchdowns. Mostert led the NFL in touchdowns last season. Montgomery was top 5 too, but they're not going to catch a ton of passes. In PPR formats, Keenan could get 8 catches today. Like, wouldn't be that crazy. I think they have comparable ceilings too in PPR leagues. So yeah, I think I would go Keenan over Mostert in a PPR league. I think I would go Montgomery versus Mostert, I think I'd probably lean Mostert on that one. Both games, I think, can be pretty high scoring here, though, so pretty comparable. But like I said, yeah, they're actually back-to-back in the rankings, which is interesting. I do think Mostert has a little bit higher receiving upside than David Montgomery has. And I also, honestly, super comparable. The more I think about this, Montgomery and Mostert, they're both playing next to elite receiving backs in year two, Achane and Gibbs. Both guys I really liked in drafts this year. Thanks for the TikTok live subscription. User 428636111064141. Appreciate you, man. TikTok live. TikTok username's always making me laugh. At Walter Picks, hey Sam, PPR flex, Terry, Kirk, Stevenson, or Monty. I think Terry. Yeah, it's Terry. It's Terry or Kirk, and I think it's Terry. Terry McLaurin's got a high floor and high ceiling. How do you feel about starting both Gibbs and Monty? I don't hate that at all. I did that in a bunch of leagues last year. I feel a little bit worse about it this year than last year, just because I'm more in on Gibbs than Monty this year, based on him being year two and sort of the role he had in the back half of last season. But it's usually like starting two running backs in the same backfield lowers your floor, your weekly floor. Sorry, lowers your weekly ceiling, but raises your floor. I think there's specific cases like Achane and Mostert and like Montgomery and Gibbs where it actually, like, you're not lowering your ceiling that much because there's such a high weekly ceiling for each of those guys individually in the touchdown category. It was Terry or Kirk? Yeah, it's Terry. Got to go Terry over Kirk. Got you, Daniel. I got you guys. Thanks for doing the TikTok live subscription. Appreciate that, DC. If you are watching live on TikTok, hit the follow button. If you're watching live on YouTube, smash the subscribe button. Guys, I'm going to be recording a video tomorrow analyzing all the biggest takeaways from today's games. We're going to get so much information today that's going to be so valuable towards winning leagues and making the right add, drop, start, sit, and trade decisions moving forward. Excited to get that recorded after the games today. Amari Cooper or Najee. Yeah, I think in PPR, you got to go Amari. If it's not a PPR league, you probably go Najee. Scoring settings matter. This is part of the reason you got to download the Walter Picks app. Flex, Calvin Ridley, or T. I'm going to need more than that. I need more than a T. I need more than a T. But I do like Ridley today a lot. So I'm probably going to answer Ridley here, but I need the second player to know for sure. I also need the scoring settings. PPR, half PPR, non-PPR. Again, download the Walter Picks app. If I didn't get your start sit, I'm telling you, you need the app. All right, Tank Dell or Williams. So that's Javonte Williams. Yeah, it's Ridley. I'd go Ridley over Tank Dell. I'd go Ridley over Javonte Williams today, assuming that's a PPR league. Calvin Ridley's locked in as the top receiver for the Titans today and moving forward too. Tank Dell has a higher ceiling than Calvin Ridley, in my opinion, but they're actually pretty close. And the floor is absolutely higher for Ridley, who has a lot less target competition. So yeah, I go Ridley. I don't love the matchup against the Bears, but I have a lot of faith in the offensive coaching staff for the Titans to scheme them open. What's up, Sam? Started watching early high school, now in college. Wow, man. Appreciate you for everything. Quickly, both PPR. James Conner, Zamir, or Singletary. And Amari, Stevenson, Palmer, and Ford, also DFS. Yeah, I got you, Zach, for the DFS. First of all, and second of all, shout out to you for tuning in for so long, man. Very cool to hear stories like this. James Conner, I think, is a pretty easy start over both Zamir and Singletary. Zamir and Singletary were both on my do not draft list this year, Zach. Just because I don't see paths to them winning leagues. And I like to draft guys that can win my leagues. Both have projectable volume. You just skipped over, bro. Unsubscribed. Eric, I got you. I always see comments like that. Oh, here we go. Ridley, Addison, and Adunze. Yeah, it's definitely Ridley over Addison and Adunze. All right, but yeah, I'd go Conner over Zamir and Singletary. And then Amari, Stevenson, Palmer, or Ford. I think it's Amari or Ford, man. I've really felt like Ford has been one of the biggest sleepers in fantasy this offseason with the Nick Chubb injury. And with just the role I expect him to have in this offense, I think I'd probably play Amari, though, if this is PPR. If it's not PPR, then I think maybe a slight edge towards Ford. But I'd play them both over Stevenson, who is also on my do not draft list for similar reasons to Zamir and Singletary. Just not a good enough offense, I don't think, to win fantasy leagues this year. All right, DFS lineup. I got you the DFS lineup. It's going to look a lot like a lot of my best ball teams. So I'm correlating upside here with my best ball teams, but I don't think that many people are going to be in on Deshaun Watson today because people don't like Deshaun Watson. I don't like him as a person. I do like his upside in fantasy, though. And I do think he could win tournaments today if the Browns hit right. And if I'm right about their passing volume, which I do think they could be one of the pass heaviest teams in the NFL. They got no Nick Chubb. They were top 3 in the NFL in pass attempts in the back half of last season. with Joe Flacco. I think the floor for Deshaun is very intriguing from a season-long fantasy perspective. He had at least 17 points in 4 of his 5 last games last season, even though he was horribly inefficient, horrible NFL quarterback last year, still went over 17 points in 4 of his 5 games because of the rushing floor. But the passing ceiling is part of the reason I like him in tournaments. I like the stack with Judy and Ford. I do not think many people have this lineup in tournaments. I think that's going to be an extremely unique stack. Deshaun, Ford, and Judy. Run it back with Jalen Tolbert, and we got total uniqueness here. And we pay down enough at these other positions. We can put in HN. We can get Jefferson in there. We can get Neighbors in there. Evan Ingram stacked with HN too, and then the Seahawks defense. Morning, brother. Thanks for the content. Stafford or Daniels today? Yeah, let me switch to the quarterback tiers here. I got Daniels over Stafford. Different tiers for me. I do like Stafford against the Lions, but Daniels, if I were to go into a factory and try to build a fantasy football quarterback, the quarterback that would come out of that factory would be Jaden Daniels, but in Anthony Richardson's body. So he doesn't have Anthony Richardson's body. He's not like a elite goal line player, but he has everything else, and he's an elite deep passer. He was the most accurate deep passer in college football last season, and he has Lamar Jackson-like rushing potential. You pair those two things together, and you got an elite floor and elite ceiling for fantasy. The only thing I could see going wrong for Jaden Daniels is Cliff Kingsbury and just a boring offense that just isn't dynamic enough, play calling wise. That I do have some concerns about, but yeah, I'm willing to start Jaden Daniels over Stafford. A tiny bit maybe more risk just because he's a rookie. Sorry, I skipped over that. I'll get to that. Swift or Mondre, happy PR. Yeah, I'd go Swift over Mondre. Yo, Sam, we back. Eckler or Allen and flex because T. Higgins is out. Yeah, I'd go Keenan Allen over Eckler in the flex day. And we are so back. We couldn't be more back. Don't have any questions. Just excited for another year of football. And Walter, year 5, let's ride. Ryan, let's go, man. We are so back. It's one of the best days of the year. One of the best days of the week every week. Are you going Pickens or Mostert in the flex when I'm starting Achane? I'm okay going Mostert and Achane. Like I was just saying with Montgomery and Gibbs, I don't think that's not going to lower your ceiling that much. One of these guys is scoring a touchdown almost every week, Achane and Mostert. And it's really not that bad of a floor or ceiling play to start both of them. I do think in a PPR league, though, I would probably start Pickens over. I think I would probably start Pickens over Mostert in a PPR league. Palmer, Swift, Pollard, or Brian Thomas? John, thanks for doing the TikTok live subscription, man. Appreciate you. This one's pretty close. Let me do this comparison on the YouTube live. Palmer. And I'll get to this question on the YouTube live next. We got Josh Palmer. I don't think I'd start Josh Palmer over Brian Thomas. No, I wouldn't. So let's get Palmer out of here. We'll go Brian Thomas, Swift, Pollard. I think the answer here is going to be Swift. He's got the toughest matchup here against the Titans. Brian Thomas actually is the answer. If this is PPR, go Brian Thomas. Go Brian Thomas. Go for the ceiling with the rookie. I generally am okay benching the rookies in week 1 for safer plays, and Swift and Pollard are safer plays, but I think in PPR, Brian Thomas has a high enough ceiling that it makes sense. Yeah, Goff versus Jaden Daniels. I do think Goff is still probably a better option than Jaden Daniels. He's got a really good spot against the Rams. Malik Willis is starting. Yeah, that's going to be absolutely gross for the Packers. Thank you for everything you do, Sam. Can't wait for another great season with Walter. Let's go, man. All right, so I wanted to get this. How do you feel about Fields today? Walter likes him over Dell in the Superflex slot. Yeah, I'm almost always going to go quarterback over receiver in the Superflex slot, and I feel pretty good about him. He averaged over 50 rushing yards per game last season. That was second most among quarterbacks. So yeah, I think you got to go him in the Superflex. Are the prop bets just like in the prop? Yes, exactly. We merged the picks in the prop evaluator tool. All the same picks that you would find last year are now shown in the prop evaluator. We did this because we got a lot of feedback that a lot of times the prop picks tool is just a little bit stale because the lines move. And the benefit of merging these two things is in the evaluator, not only can you see what all the picks are, and you can filter to just all the written up picks officially from the team, But you can also see where those stand in terms of edge value right now based on the line movement, because a lot of the picks experience a lot of line movement. So that's part of the reason we merged those two. But yeah, you'll find all the recommended picks, the top recommended picks in the Walter Picks app. You'll find those in the prop evaluator this season. Thanks for the follow, Malik. Appreciate that in the TikTok live. Happy first Sunday. Ayuk or Cooper? Yeah, I'm going Cooper over Ayuk. Same question here. Yeah, I go Cooper over Ayuk here too. I prefer to bench Ayuk. Eric, thanks for doing the TikTok live subscription. Appreciate that. DK, London, Terry, Thomas, pick 3 out of 4 PPR. So that's just pick 1 to bench. And yeah, you should just bench Brian Thomas Jr. here. Start DK Metcalf, start Drake London, start Terry McLaurin. Why are you so high on Deshaun this week? Yeah, so Tom, I think the floor is just there for Deshaun, just based on last season, where Deshaun was one of the worst quarterbacks in the NFL last season from just a pure efficiency, NFL efficiency standpoint. But from a fantasy standpoint, he played 5 games last year. He had at least 17 points in 4 of those games. That's a pretty strong floor for fantasy. And I also have been pretty high on this offense in general being very pass heavy without Nick Chubb, because they were really pass heavy without Nick Chubb last year. They add Jerry Jeudy this offseason too. They're underdogs. Or this game's projected to be really close. Actually, they might be slight favorites in this game even. I think they're small underdogs. But also the healthiest that Deshaun has ever been since 2020 is right now. And back in 2020, he averaged over 23 points per game. So I think the floor is there just based on last season. He was horrible last season, still went over 17 points in 4 of his 5 games because of the rushing. And then the ceiling is there if he can be somewhat of what he used to be and why he got this big contract. So yeah, I think he's just a little underrated heading into this season. A lot of the reason he was going so late in drafts is people assume he's going to get hurt. But right now, he is fully healthy. Right now, he projects as top 10 quarterback with the rushing and then the passing volume potentially. So yeah, I do like him. I would definitely go Jerome Ford over J.K. Dobbins. Thanks for the follow, Rick. Appreciate that. DJ Moore, Christian Kirk. Eric, I got you. I think this one's Christian Kirk. I'm going to do this comparison live in the YouTube live. I think it's Christian Kirk. Yeah. It's not. It's DJ. Man, this one's so close. Look at how different these curves are. Christian Kirk's a bit safer, but DJ Moore's ceiling is so much higher. It's a floor ceiling play for you, Eric. Assuming this is a PPR league, which I assume it is. If it's not, I think I'd lean DJ Moore a little bit more than Kirk. If it's half PPR, but it's full PPR. I think it's how big of a ceiling are you going for? Because there's very few receivers with the ceiling that DJ Moore has. But Christian Kirk is one of the most solid floors. So if you're already losing in your matchup or projected to lose, I'd go DJ. If you're projected to win, I think I'd probably go Christian Kirk. Lawrence or Fields with the higher ceiling? Yeah, it's got to be Lawrence with the higher ceiling. The thing you got to understand about rushing in fantasy from the quarterback perspective, it's actually a floor booster, not a ceiling booster. The floor is boosted with rushing, but to hit that ceiling as a quarterback, you need the rushing and the passing. That's why Jayden Daniels is so exciting. But it's really a huge passing game that's the ceiling in fantasy. So yeah, I think Lawrence is a higher ceiling. Walter disagrees with me on this. But I would argue that Lawrence is a higher ceiling. He projects better. I think that Fields' floor is pretty strong, though. PPR, Spears or Mooney? Yeah, I think I go Spears or Mooney. Should I pick up Ford or Pollard? God, both these guys should not be on the waiver wire. I think Ford, though, makes more sense this week, and Pollard probably has a higher ceiling rest of the season. Full PPR. Thanks, man. Yeah, I think in full PPR, I lean DJ Moore for the ceiling. But if you're in a good spot, your team, like you had Jaden Reed or one of these other guys that did well so already, like you can't go wrong really with either guy. Christian Kirk has a higher floor for sure. DJ Moore's ceiling, though, is absolutely elite, a little bit higher than Christian Kirk's. I go Swift over Edwards. All right, guys, that is my time. I'm going to be answering start-sit questions in the Discord for all premium Walter Pick subscribers. I'll be in the Discord for the next 20 to 30 minutes in there, just answering all start-sit comments possible. If I didn't get to yours, first of all, go download the Walter Picks app, because you can use it for free for all your start-sit decisions, even better than I can answer on these lives. And second, if you do subscribe to the Walter Picks app, join the Discord. Link to that's in the YouTube description, and I'll get to your comments there. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in for the first Sunday morning live stream of the year. We are 3 hours and 20 minutes in, man. I cannot wait for the game to start in just 40 minutes. Time is the most valuable thing we have. Thanks for spending some time with me today, guys. I will be back live Thursday. Actually, won't be live Thursday. I'll probably post a video Thursday. I'm actually going to the Thursday night game between the Dolphins and Bills next week. I'll be back live Sunday morning, though. And make sure you're subscribed to the YouTube channel because I'll be posting a YouTube video reacting to all the games and what it means looking forward. Tomorrow, I'll be recording that, maybe posting Tuesday morning. We'll see when it gets posted. Have a good day, guys. Enjoy the first Sunday. Great day to be great. And I'll be back live super soon.